Conrad deleted his account. I did so much work for this. I did 20 hours of prep for this. I read all of the text he asked me to do, which was Of Grammatology by Jacques Derrida. Read the entire thing. I read a ton of supplementary materials. I read a ton of supplementary materials. Watched as much information on it as I could. I took 20-something pages of notes. I was ready. 20 minutes before the stream, he deletes his account. I don't know what to say about that. I wish. Oh man. I don't know what to. So, I guess the plan here. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this video up after it's over, but let's experience it in the moment, shall we? So, unfortunately, unless some sort of miracle happens, unless some sort of miracle happens, we're not going to see Conrad. But we may get some really cool people in here. So, some fans of Conrad. This is a Conrad appreciation stream now. So, we can see... Press F for fallen comrade. Our fallen comrade, the Conrad. Please, can we get some Fs in the chat? Please, for my baby boy who has left us. Fs in the chat. My son. He is gone. So before I start talking to everybody about this and start going, because I'm going to go over this research. I'm going to relay to you everything that I found in my research on Derrida, on postmodernism, on all of that stuff. But let's tell the story of how this happened. So we had some absolute legend take some screenshots before everything was done. And let's see. Where did I find it? Noopy. Noopy did just everything that they... Thank you so much, Noopy. So, here were the conditions. If you read Grammatology in the entirety by then being this Saturday, which is now, I will debate whenever you like, kid. Excellent! 8 p.m. Eastern this Saturday it is. Alright, and he's... Oh, this is my favorite part right here. Nice projection. Still ducking that debate with King Crocoduck you agreed to have? Or do you have an excuse? So, guess what, y'all? I'm debating King Crocoduck on January 4th. I'll make an event for it. I'll send a tweet out when it's closer to it, when it's closer to time. But yes, I'm actually debating King Crocoduck on social justice in academia and social justice in research on January 4th. So that's happening. So that was, I did so much. I did, oh man, all the notes that I took for this debate. I highlighted, I wrote synopses. Oh man. I had this notebook ready. I had this notebook ready. They had all of yeah. All I've written down about the subject. I'm devastated, if we're honest. So, yeah. Let's see. Pop out chat. So what I'm gonna do is invite people. I'm probably just gonna hop in my Discord right now. Let's see who's there. Classy, my friend, Classy Liberal. How you doing, man?
Am I on stream right now? I'm gonna have to mute this now.
You are on stream right now, good sir.
All right. Sorry if I'm not in my usual good mood. I'm still kind of in mourning, because of Conrad.
I know. I am. I am just as upset as you are. I poured a nice tall glass of bourbon for this, and I did so much work. So, what? Let's keep this conversation respectful, and respect our fallen Conrad here. What did you love most about Conrad?
He was more Sargon than Sargon.
Yeah.
I've never met someone so committed to their cause that they've somehow unintentionally make a freaking okay. You know, like some people they'll make like what's the opposite of a straw man? Uh, an Iron Man or something like that. An unintentional straw man of the person you're trying to defend. Like, explain this. Here's the thing. I talk to these Sargonites and these Sargonists all the time. I disagree with them, and a lot of them are dumb. But like, at least when I talk to them, it sounds like I'm talking to an actual person. There are times where like, I can like at least somewhat like make them see like where I'm coming from. But Conrad was so unbelievably like stereotypical of like what you would expect from this classical liberal Sargonist community that I don't even think he was real. I don't think he was real to begin with.
Did we all imagine him?
I'm gonna do the whole postmodernist thing, and it's like, what even is Conrad? Like,
he was all. Yeah. I can't prove that he ever existed now. I'm like checking my notebooks. It's like his name is gone from the notebook now. It's like dematerialized out of existence.
If I'm being honest with you, because I know you kind of feel like all this work was kind of for nothing. You could like make a Word doc of like those notes and like post it online. Like I'm pretty sure some undergrads will like appreciate that.
Yeah, I took pictures of all my notes, and they're up in the chat there. If you scroll up, you'll see a lot of them. We have some other awesome people in the chat now. We have Logic Guy and Chud Logic. We are overflowing with logic in this chat room right now. Overflowing with logic. Which is ironic because the debate was supposed to be on postmodernism. So what I was hoping we could do is discuss Conrad a little bit more. And
sure.
And see how our baby boy, let's pay him the respect that he deserves. And then I would actually very much like to go over some of the research that I did. So.
Oh yeah, like we could still have like a huge discussion line. Like I would be fascinated to like learn like what you've read and like what you've like, because I honestly haven't heard of this book, but like I'm not into philosophy, so.
Yeah, I am not usually a philosophy guy.
Yeah, like dude, you're definitely smarter than LSP. LSP would have never done this.
I don't know. If he was a troll, he was a damn legend.
Oh yeah, like I don't think I could even like troll that hard. I could try, but.
But he did. If he did, he got me to do 20 hours of work for nothing. Or not for nothing. I still learned a lot, and it's actually really interesting.
I mean, if you enjoyed, like, if you got something out of it, it wasn't a total waste, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It wasn't a waste. I really did enjoy doing all the research. There's some really cool ideas to discuss, and if I ever do need to debate on postmodernism, I feel fairly equipped now. Like, I think I know the basics.
All right. Before you get to the postmodernist part, another like memory of Conrad was like not too long ago he posted that whole thing about the dance. Let me see if I can find the tweet. But it was like something like radical leftists, getting in a collective dance behind their political candidate or something. And like he got the candidate wrong. He said it was like Beto, but Beto already dropped out. That's actually like Pete Buttigieg. These are two candidates that like, yeah, they had somewhat of a following, but they're nowhere near as like popular in the left as like someone like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, right? And these are people like the left technically hates. I mean, Pete Buttigieg, he's like one of these like interventionist sort of folk. He's not exactly that big on like Medicare for all. He's like for the public option. And then Beto, like, what's the policy of Beto? Yeah, that's it. Like, he's the Jeb Bush of like
and
the Democratic Party.
And he mixed them up.
I don't know why. Oh, sorry.
And he mixed them up. He was going so hard in on one of them, on Pete Buttigieg, right? And he was like calling him Beto, and then he called everybody politically illiterate afterwards who disagreed with him. It was glorious. Yes,
but it's just like, how do you get so angry over like some cringy jams? Like, yeah, if you want to make fun of them, like that's cool, but like.
Yes, the Black Owl, if he is doing that right now, I can't even be mad. If he is like, yes, my plan has succeeded, wringing his hands, doing the villain laugh. Bravo. Good for him.
I mean, does he have a YouTube account? I don't know if you can tell if he's watching the stream right now.
No, I have no idea. I haven't seen it. Haven't seen him in chat. All right. Logic Guy and Chud Logic, we're both friends of Conrad. You're both muted right now, by the way.
Hello.
Hello, Chud. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing? Probably a bit disappointed.
I'm actually disappointed, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, man. We all are.
I know. It was going to be so amazing. And yeah.
I know. It's a sad day for all of us. I think this is a day that will be remembered in Twitter lore forever to come, to be honest with you.
If I actually chased him off Twitter, I think I feel a little bit bad about it.
I don't. I don't feel bad about it.
Can we just talk a little bit about what actually happened? Because, I think that there's the grenade quote tweet that perhaps had an influence on him leaving as well.
Yes.
I didn't see the grenade one.
All right, so we have Chud Logic, Classy Liberal, and Logic Guy in the chat right now. All of my friends who are all huge fans of Conrad.
Conrad gang, man. Conrad rise up.
Conrad gang. Conrad rise up. So if this, hold on, let me switch to it.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see it.
Yeah, it was just this was his pinned tweet that we can still see. Can we still see it? No,
I can't. I see a totally blank page. It just wiped from the face of the earth.
Wiped from the face. Well, luckily, since Grenade quote tweeted it, we can see in its glory forever on YouTube his pinned tweet. And it was also on Chud Logic's stream a few days ago. I have been thinking about the latest radical leftist meme, namely repeating what someone says and posting inane images of Family Guy to people they disagree with. I thought I would give my thoughts on this as a philosopher and how this highlights issues in leftist ideology, and he did. He went on an entire thread about how this is representative of postmodern leftist ideology by posting the "me and the boys will beat you" meme. He did. The absolute mad lad did it.
It's a shame we don't have the full text.
I know.
Yeah, the whole thread would have been fun.
The whole thread would have been amazing, but...
Also, on an off note, like some people say it's cringy when you put like your pronouns on your profile. What does he have? Anti-SJW, anti-alt-right, classical liberal,
reasonable centrist. There's something about being a centrist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can still see over here on the right his glorious profile: anti-SJW, anti-alt-right, centrist freethinker, classical liberal, freedom isn't free, neither is free speech, hashtag free Sargon. Now, I noticed that used to be hashtag free Dankula.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Also, I want to say that to all of us Conradologists out there, Chud Logic's video yesterday on Conrad is probably a definitive resource, so I'd recommend everyone check that out. And I really have to agree that my favorite part of that video is the appreciation of the bio. It's really everything's great. It's flawless, and I totally agree that if you added anything to it, it would make it lesser. It's the perfect bio, 10 out of 10.
That's actually in accordance with Derrida. Actually, that's. I'm not even joking.
I'm looking forward to learning about Derrida. I've been curious about him for a while.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Conrad just a little bit more? Actually, Chud, if you can you post your video in the chat for everybody?
Yeah, sure. Give me 2 secs. Okay. I just want to do this. I want to point out as well my sort of theory that I personally believe that Conrad is a CIA deep cover operative, a plant. And his shady CIA handlers have pulled him from Twitter because there was too much sort of heat, pressure and attention on him. Do you see what I mean?
Everyone.
That's a good theory.
Everyone.
I also have a Conrad theory I'd like to share with the chat, if I may.
You can.
Yeah.
While you're talking though, I'm going to put up something depressing because I'm pretty sure it's a well.
Oh no. Anyways, I'll just get my theory out of the way. Right, I think that I suspect that Conrad, quote unquote, Justin, you look terrified right now. What's happening?
It's gonna come on screen here in a second, hopefully.
Okay.
So
I think the person we're calling Conrad's been dead since 2016. That's why all the memes they use, the triggered SJW profile pic, it's all stuff from 2016. But Conrad was such a galaxy brain that he saw all of this coming, so he wrote it down in tweet form and informed his estate to release all of it incrementally when it was valid, and that's why. Because so Conrad saw everything was going to happen. Saw the rise of Trump. Saw how the elections were going to go. The only thing that he couldn't foresee was the memes, because memes are too chaotic. It's basic chaos theory. So that's why everything is up to date except the memes. And the reason Conrad didn't deactivate. That's as much as they wrote forward. So we just got to the end of Conrad's script, and this is it.
All right, so we have to confirm then Conrad is an actual person, though, but they're no longer with us.
Yes, there was a Conrad. There was a Conrad, but they left us probably in the year 2016, unfortunately. R.I.P., man.
I mean, it's possible they might have been stabbed by a leftist, like an Antifa member or something.
So I don't know if you guys are looking at the stream right now. Some absolute legend made a Conrad Yellow account.
Oh boy.
And they saved the entire thread.
Oh, that's freaking awesome.
Whoa, this is crazy. I didn't realize what I was looking at first.
So, this absolute legend. All right, we have to do a dramatic reading of this. So, and to get the full effect, I need to do it from the beginning. Okay.
I have been thinking about the latest radical leftist meme, namely repeating what someone says and posting inane images of Family Guy to people they disagree with. I thought I would give my thoughts on this, as a philosopher, and how this highlights issues in leftist ideology. 1/ First, this is the hive mind mentality of collectivism. They create a literal echo chamber and become but another ant in it, joining in on the mob, thinking it is a good thing. This is unique to the radical left. It is an attempt to turn the individual into the collective. 2/ And think about that last statement because it is quite illustrative of the problem. An individual states their opinion, typically one disagreeing with the SJWs, then the collective swarms in to repeat it back to them. It is literally trying to collectivize the individual. 3/ It goes further than that. The use of badly edited images of Family Guy, a show with notoriously poor comedy skills, but also one that directly attacks SJW ideology, is an attempt to turn that show into an SJW weapon. It is a process of reclaiming and homogenizing it. 4/. Moreover, this quintessentially postmodern, badly edited memes deployed for political purposes seeking to dismantle the individual is almost unparalleled in its postmodern character. Just some thoughts on a bad recent trend I've observed among the radical left.
Justin, you did such a brilliant job bringing that to life. I felt like Conrad was in the room with us, talking to us in his normal voice.
Dude, that was so big brain right now. Like, whoa, dude. Like, I was studying anatomy today, and like, wow, like that. There's, oh my god, like,
It was. I did my best.
as a philosopher.
As a
It's
philosopher.
just dripping with pretension, isn't it? You know.
So
Wait, he posted that picture?
This was actually. I'm gonna go back to it.
Who posted that? Did you?
No, this is someone I'm definitely following.
Oh, okay.
Conrad Yellow, Bronze Swords.
I'm following
1.
Conrad Yellow.
Yeah, everyone go follow Conrad Yellow, this absolute legend. He will live on just a little bit. They saved
All right,
the.
is Alice B in the chat?
He could be, yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Hi, Dan.
Okay.
Hi,
Liberal. Can you just admit that it was you? Like, it was you the whole time.
that flips. I was Conrad the entire time.
Yeah, that's why you pussied out.
I actually came to give my condolences because I was deeply looking forward to this, and I really
I
am
think
bummed.
everybody was.
So I'm sorry.
I think there's a lot of heartbreak out there. A lot of heartbreak tonight.
Yeah.
Speaking of theories, where does everyone stand on the Conrad is Sargon theory? That's a popular one.
No, he's more Sargon than Sargon. So
You see,
Well,
like,
but maybe this is an outlet for him to express his true self.
it's.
I mean,
wait,
can I
he's
just
dumber
sort of-
than you think.
I think it's no coincidence that an alt of Sargon has potentially now popped up when Conrad's disappeared.
That is interesting.
Connect
That
the
is
dots.
interesting.
That's all I'm saying.
Chud Logic and I attempted to confront Carl about this, and he was very evasive. He would neither confirm nor deny. Pretty suspicious.
I actually tweeted at Sargon like, "Please, will you debate me instead?"
Oh, yeah.
Which he should. He should come. He should come on.
He should come on. I would love to have Sargon on.
You know, he can. He doesn't have to come on to debate. It doesn't have to be a fight. He can come on to learn about Derrida with the rest of us, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He said he didn't know who Conrad is, so we could also learn about the law of Conrad too at the same time.
No.
Yeah. And why would he not? Why would he not want to take advantage of that opportunity? I wonder. Kind of suspicious.
So does anyone actually want to hear about some Derrida research?
I very much do.
Yeah, shoot.
All right, so Derrida was a deconstructionist. So he was kind of like, all right, I need to define constructionism. So, or constructivists or constructionists. I'm actually not sure. This is how much prep I did. I didn't learn the actual names. Anyway, there's this theory out there that when you say a word or write a word, there is some greater connection to something outside the word. Like every word has a meaning that is outside of that word that you can directly connect it to.
So this reminds me of Plato, right?
Yeah, kind of like the idea of forms. Like when you say the word cat, there is an ideal form of cat that is in direct reference to.
So we're like it starts with Plato, like that's like our starting point. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, the whole of Western philosophy is about to come under fire when I eventually connect this to postmodernism. So yeah, we have structuralists. I've had already just a little bit too much bourbon. Anyway, so who say that there is some sort of greater meaning, there's some sort of direct connection to a perfect idea of a word, and that is symbolized by the sign of the word, whether spoken or written. Derrida's like, nah, fuck that. Yo, bro, no, ain't nothing like that. Ain't nothing like that in our minds. Signs are just signs of signs. And so he essentially says that there's nothing outside of the text. That is his most famous quote. There is nothing outside of the text.
I've heard Sam Harris quote that.
Yeah. So
derisively, of course. He does not like Derrida.
He does not like Derrida. Well, I don't know how I feel about him because his text is famously impenetrable. And what I mean by that is it is one of the most difficult philosophy texts written in the last century, which I'm pretty sure is why Conrad dared me to read it. Well, I read the entire fucking thing, and I took a ton of notes on it. So, but his main thesis, even though he would punch me in the face if I called it a thesis, is there's nothing outside of the text. There is no greater meaning. And he achieves this through the concept of difference, or différence, since he was French. Now, it's just, so you cannot tell from me speaking it, but when it's written, it's actually spelled with an A, which means so he did that on purpose because he was trying to illustrate the power of the written word. So you can't tell that I'm referencing a different word when I'm speaking, but when I write it down, you can see that this is a different word. And différence means it's a combination of different and defer. So instead of linking words to some sort of greater perfect meaning, instead we find meaning in words through their differentiation and relationship to other words, as well as their meaning is deferred. So if I say cat, its meaning is derived not from some sort of transcendental link, but rather through its differentiation from dog or man or cow or tree. So it's different from all the other words that we know, and that's how we find one meaning of it. And that meaning is going to change. Its meaning is going to be deferred by the words that come after it. So if I say the cat curls, now the meaning of cat has changed in relationship because now curls has added more context to the word cat. So if I say the cat curls, that is a different cat than the one you were originally thinking of. Its meaning has changed. If I go even further and say the cat curls her finger around the trigger of her rifle, that's way different than what you were originally thinking. But it's the same word. And so if that meaning changed as the sentence went on, it cannot be linked to some sort of perfect form because its meaning changed drastically from when you heard the first word to the second to the rest of them. That is what Derrida says. That is what he means. And that is what he means by there's nothing outside of the text. I hope I explained that. If there are any Derrida fans in the chat right now, I would actually love to see how much I got wrong.
All right, so like, what's Conrad's issue with Derrida? Like, did he explain it in Twitter?
No, he just didn't like him because he was like kind of like one of the big daddies of postmodernism.
Okay.
Along with along with Michel Foucault. I'm definitely mispronouncing that, and I even practiced it earlier. Richard Rorty and Jean-Francois Lyotard, or I'm just gonna call him Jean-Francois Lyotard.
No, but I think I'm somewhat familiar with Foucault just because like Jordan Peterson used to talk about it.
Oh yeah. So
I mean, my understanding of postmodernism is really through the lens of sort of media and absurdism, fourth wall breaks, things like that. I mean, how does that fit into what you've sort of researched and looked at?
So I was mostly focusing. So I'm actually really interested to hear your thoughts on that because I mostly focused on postmodernist philosophy. Yeah, in my research. I actually skipped over architecture and theater just because I was pressed for time. I had 3 days. I had from Wednesday till now to do all of this reading. I read the entire book and so much. So
I think it's okay to admit that you skipped some because obviously Conrad has not read any Derrida ever. I think he's admitted that.
I think we can admit that he hasn't read anything ever because he's not real. He is a script. No. He is something within our hearts.
He's a deep fake
Conrad is
computer program.
He is making us question postmodernism because he is something greater than ourselves. He is an objective truth, and we can know him. Anyway, more about postmodernism. So, postmodernism, and again, just interrupt me if I'm being really, really boring. Postmodernism is a reaction to modernism, obviously. Modernism is the concept that we can know things for certain, objectively, and that knowledge is good. And postmodernism says, nah, all that's bullshit. So
it's also about the destruction of grand narratives, right?
Yep. Yeah, and partially because it's a rejection of knowledge for certain objective, and it's always good. That means that there cannot be a grand meta narrative or that encompasses all of human history, or all of knowledge can't be contained within one framework. It's essentially what postmodernism is.
All right, so like, what does this have to do with like destroying Western civilization?
Because it's rejecting a lot of the ideas like. That Western civilization was built on, I guess. Even though
I mean, you can see how this is. is not exactly compatible with like the ideals of enlightenment, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this is directly almost as a response to the ideas that came about during the Enlightenment. And if, like I said, anybody in chat, 3 days of research, I'm going to be wrong about a lot of stuff. I'm actually super interested in anybody who wants to prove me wrong.
Okay. So well, like these people like have issues with like the empiricist or even like the rationalist, in like the time of like Enlightenment and pre-Enlightenment.
Yeah. So I think rationalists really love the idea that we can know things for certain. That through the scientific method and through the scientific process and through rationality, we can know things for certain. We can achieve objectivity. And postmodernism is like, no, not really. No, like, because everything that you know is shaped through the community that you lived in and the context in which you learned these things. So it's all going to be shaped by that. Your experiences are always going to be limited. There's always going to be things you don't know, angles that you haven't considered. And so how can you ever know anything objectively for certain?
My own opinion on that is that postmodernists, it's as if they take a few observations that are kind of correct. You know, like there's obviously a limit to what our five senses can tell us about reality, and they kind of use that to like jam their foot in the door and sort of force it open and kind of open the door to a lot of kind of craziness. Is my own feelings on that.
Oh, absolutely. So there are some things that I really like about postmodernism. Like, I actually agree that even scientific research, so I'm very much an empiricist. I'm in a hard science myself. I'm in biomechanics. I really like my science. I really like my data. I really like my statistics.
Join the STEM Lord Club.
Yay, STEM Lord Club. STEM Lord gang, rise up. But I really like all that stuff, but I also am of the opinion that we can't know things objectively. There's just too many factors that we can't know right now. Even if we have a really good thought process, like who decided that this thought process was correct? We're all like fallible humans. So we're all always going to be, one datum short of the absolute ideal truth. So I actually agree with that. And I really like the idea of, hold on, let me see. Richard Rorty. And so he's one of the people I took notes on. He said that instead of viewing science as a succession of definite truths, a succession of objective realities that we have discovered, we should view science as an ongoing conversation. And I really like that phrasing. I really like that framing of science. Like, it's an ongoing conversation. Everything is up for further analysis, and everything can be modified with more information if we only go and look for it.
Okay.
So,
not to look more into this is interesting. You really went balls deep into this.
I did. I did
this
so
is,
much.
This is some real big brain shit we're dealing with right here.
Big brain shit.
I mean, Jangles.
I guess you could say the idea dial has been turned up to high.
It's been turned up to... It has been actually turned all the way around.
All of our brains are going to be in recovery mode for weeks after this.
Let me just see if I can force anything in. So something I do...
mean, here's some...
Go ahead.
Go on. No, I was just gonna say that you could use these notes and like make a video on it.
I could. Philosophies, I don't really feel comfortable doing it because it's not my area of expertise. I don't feel like I would do it justice. Like, I'm really self-conscious about the fact that I only have been doing in-depth research on philosophy for like in-depth, like focused research for 3 days. It's been sort of a hobby on and off.
Imagine if someone on the internet spoke about a subject they weren't an expert on.
I know,
think
right?
That we should shut this down. I mean, you've only been doing research on it for a week. I mean, come on. What would Tim Pool say to that?
He would.
Imagine Tim Pool making a video on a subject he's only been researching for a week.
I would actually love if he did that much. So I'm gonna try to get out as much information as I can in this stream, and if it goes well, and if I don't get a bunch of people saying that I was absolutely completely wrong about it, I might put it into a video, or I might be more comfortable debating it in the future with someone who actually shows up.
I mean, I can talk to some people on like some Discord service, and like maybe they might be open to talking to you. Like I said, I do talk to like actual Sargonists and Sargonites, and like they're pretty dumb, but they're not nowhere self-parodying as Conrad, and it just might be interesting.
It'd be interesting because I don't think I'm a postmodernist. Like there's some things I like, but there's some things I don't. Like for example, something I don't like is that I do like reason. I do think that reason is extremely important. Postmodernists will claim that reason is not the only way that we can know things. We can also know things through emotion, and we can know things through intuition. And at first, I really don't like that because I am like really love my studies. I really love my scientific like citations and all that fun stuff. But then when you think about it a little bit more, there are some things that you can kind of only know by emotion, right? Can you prove objectively that you're angry?
I mean, you can look at like your blood pressure and like the changes in like your face, but
yeah, but it could, I mean, all those things could have alternative causes. How can we prove objectively that you're angry? How can we prove objectively that you're happy? How do you know that you love someone? Can you prove that objectively with science?
well, aren't there like brain scans where like certain parts of the brain light up based on like your emotions and like stuff like that?
Yeah, and then there's another thing. So I mentioned subjectivity. I mentioned that postmodernists reject the idea that we know things for certain and we know things objectively. They also reject the idea that all knowledge is good. So, for example, let's say we could map the brain so well that we know exactly what you're thinking at all times. Would that be a good thing?
I mean, I can imagine there'd be a lot of pros and cons, but like you could make the case that like as much as like bad things, and like governments taking advantage of this to like control citizens, like you can make the argument that there'd be so many good medical applications out of this that the pros are gonna outweigh the cons. I mean, that's just me.
Let's say, as a thought experiment, that we mapped your brain so well that we have basically made you a machine that is going to make perfectly predictable decisions based on your environment. So based on the stimuli
this is what Conrad did. What you're describing is how Conrad tweets from beyond the grave.
Yes, exactly. He was so in tune with reality.
Why you want me to read the book?
You're right.
This is his confession.
This is his confession to us. He had achieved... He's a program that achieved so much sentience that it was able to predict everything I say at the exact time I said it, because it studied my exact makeup, my exact physiological makeup, to the point where he knew that I would be at the computer at this time, tweeting this exact series of letters in this exact order, and he knew. Oh man,
it's weird you can do all that, but not read a book.
That's true.
Could you? You mentioned that you've got a bit of history with Conrad. I've only got 4 months. Like, what have you got? What happened?
So it happened back in July when I was on vacation in Montreal. So me and LSP had recently worked on a video together called what was it called? The Dishonest Framing of Anti-SJW YouTube. And Conrad took issue with it. For example, he said that how dare we attack Sargon? That was his first introduction to me as a Sargonite, because Sargon is half black. It is a thing he said, and I'm sure that is screen capped somewhere, because that tweet is so amazing. He said Sargon is half black, but that quickly turned into a debate challenge. Were you about to say something?
No,
well, just that Sargon has walked that back too.
Yeah,
it turned into 1/8 black, and then it turned into he didn't know what his grandfather's ethnicity was, but he had black hair.
He had black hair. Yes, he did call Sargon a philosopher as well, Red. Yep, absolutely. He called him a great philosopher, not just a philosopher.
A great scholar.
A great scholar, a great philosopher, and just one of the best of our time. Absolutely. By the way, Gushin just did a video proving that Sargon doesn't know how to read again. So on the Epic of Gilgamesh. So go check out Gushin's new video too.
I haven't even watched that video.
It's an hour long. She's a lot.
How do you mess up the Epic of Gilgamesh? I mean,
by trying to force incels and chads into it.
Oh, all right, cool.
So, yeah.
All right. But you were talking about like the thought experiment.
Oh yeah, the thought experiment. So let's say we could map out your mind to the point where we knew exactly what your physiological makeup would choose given any sort of environmental stimuli. So we somehow could map it so well that we knew exactly, we could predict with 100% accuracy what decision you were going to make in what circumstances. Would that take away the illusion of free will? Because we're just computers, essentially, that will do what we're programmed to do in certain situations. Is that good?
Guys, I don't mean to brag, but I just got followed by Conrad Yellow, so...
Nice.
Nice.
That's some serious clout right there.
That is some serious clout. He's followed me too. I love you, Conrad Yellow. Never reveal your identity. I want to love you from afar.
I mean, you could just say that knowledge is neither good or bad. I mean,
Knowledge is neither good nor bad.
the same knowledge we use of the atom, we could use for nuclear energy. We could also use to make like nuclear bombs that can destroy.
That's actually a pretty fundamental tenet of postmodernism. So if there's no objective truth, that means there's also no objective morality. And so postmodernists, like Derrida especially, but postmodernists in general, kind of reject this dualistic mode of thinking, that there are exact opposites and we need to think in exact opposites. And I thought that was really, really cool. Like I definitely agree with that.
Right.
So
I don't. Sorry, go on.
Right. And so I'm studying to be a teacher, and this is really similar to Perry's model of learning. So Perry's model of learning is for college students, and it says, like, at the lowest level of learning, you think that there is right and wrong. There's an objectively right answer, and anything other than that is objectively wrong. And as you go through these stages of thinking, these stages of comprehension and cognition, you start to realize that, well, actually, no, it's a lot more complicated than that. There are shades of gray. There are things that are pretty right, and there are things that are also pretty right, even though they're completely different. And wrong starts to take on a whole new shape, or, maybe something isn't incredibly wrong just because it's not the exact answer that the teacher gave. So you start to question authority figures, and you start to question previous narratives that you've been sold throughout your entire life. And I think so there's some research to back that up as well. I thought that was really, really interesting in terms of how we learn. So I think there is something to that postmodernist idea that there isn't just two choices. We don't live in a binary. There is a vast spectrum of options that are going to be available.
There's always a third option.
There's always a third, fourth, fifth, and an infinite amount of options.
Right.
Like if we bring it back to Derrida, so think of a thought you say, and how many different ways can you phrase it? Like think of a thought. How many different ways can you think of writing that down or saying that out loud?
Or what about expressing it through dance?
Expressing it through dance. Yes.
It's an infinite number of ways you can express that thought.
Yeah, exactly. Is any one of them correct? After all, they should all like, if you write two different sentences with different words, they should express different meanings. But if they were both, expressed from the same thought, how can that be?
So that's a question to us?
I mean, it's semi-rhetorical, but if you have anything to add to that or a rebuttal.
I don't have anything to add to that. Other than my mind is blown.
Mind is blown. Any questions or like what are some stuff that we don't like about postmodern ideology? I can see if I can stand in as a postmodern defender.
Okay, so like, can you say like postmodernist is kind of self-defeating? Because how do you improve postmodernism?
How do you improve postmodernism? That's the thing. They're not interested in what is right and wrong. They're not interested in proving right. They're not interested in proving wrong to a certain extent. Now, one of the hardest things when discussing postmodernism is that there are no hard and correct answers. Like, I can't tell you this is what postmodernists believe because that's kind of defeats the entire purpose if I say that there's an objective thing that postmodernists believe. So
something that I find really frustrating about postmodernism is that it's essentially posing that, there is no like hard truth, but that's something that we kind of, it's contrary to how we experience reality. We experience a reality of hard truths.
Yeah. I mean, they do say that we can know things, but there's some things that we know through intuition or emotion rather than through reason. Now, again, that's one of the things.
How do we know things in a postmodern framework, though?
Yeah. Again, just 3 days of research, so I couldn't tell you that. But this is something I disagree with because I think there's a logic to emotion. I think there's a logical thought process that's, whether it's subconscious or instantaneous, that leads you to feel angry about a stimuli or to feel happy in a certain state. I think there's a logical process that you can trace if you really think about it for most of your feelings. So I don't draw this dichotomy between logic and emotion, which I guess is sort of postmodern in its spirit.
So we don't know how we know things.
We don't know how we know things. Oh, epistemology.
This reminds me of what's that theology argument? You know, the one about how you can't have any knowledge, presuppositionalism. This reminds me of presuppositionalism.
Cool. So what's that?
Presuppositionalism it's an argument for God that became very popular in the evangelical community, especially like the tail end of like the new atheist era, and it comes out of Calvinism, and it basically holds that that belief in the supernatural is a precondition for logical intelligibility, without which you can't know anything.
Okay, real quick, Justin.
It's not a postmodern argument.
Bye.
What's up?
Justin wants you to accept his gift on Steam. Bye.
Okay.
What did he say?
One of my friends wants me to accept his gift on Steam. Anyway, can you repeat the last thing you said?
Postmodernism is a theological argument for God that originates out of Calvinism, which holds that belief in a supernatural personalized deity is a precondition for forming logical intelligibility out of the universe. So without that you can't know anything about the world. So it's not a postmodern argument, but what you were saying there just kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, that definitely makes some sort of sense. Like a modern. So if you believe,
the thing is, I don't think it does make sense, because essentially, reading about the argument, what I realized was they're saying you can't know anything about the universe because you have no objective standpoint, you on your own. But I can know. So you can't know anything, but I can know something because I know a guy who knows everything, and he told me. And the problem is that you don't know a guy because you can't know anything without having an objective source of of information. So the whole thing rests on basically, I know God and he told me, but you don't know God because you have no precondition for intelligibility. So basically, if you start from a presuppositionalist argument, what you're doing is you're starting from unintelligible island and you're trying to build a bridge to intelligibility. But the problem is there's no way to build a bridge on unintelligible island because you don't know how to build bridges on unintelligible island.
Right.
So I think it's a nonsense argument that doesn't make sense. It is merely clever is what is my
nearly
that's my
clever
ruling on presuppositionalism.
Yeah, I don't. So when I think if I say the words "there is no objective truth," that sounds like an objective statement, right? Because it's absolute. There is no objective truth, but contained within that text, if we go off of Derrida, well, that includes the text. If I say there is no objective truth, contained within that text is there is no objective truth.
Yeah, it's exactly the issue I ran into with presuppositionalism. Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's really, really interesting. I could definitely read a little bit more philosophy. It's just still don't feel comfortable because I'm like making.
Most of the philosophy I've read is existentialism, which I enjoy. I think that's pretty good.
You're John Sartre.
Yep. Sartre, and I say Sartre, but your pronunciation is correct. And Camus, and I mean, actually, a lot of big philosophers can actually be like put in under the umbrella of existentialism. A lot of people consider Nietzsche an existentialist, but that's like he would be a very early one.
Sorry, I'm logging into something.
Yeah,
Of course.
Just to bring the conversation back slightly, I just want to let everyone know that I have made contact with Conrad Yellow,
Yes.
and I've posted a DM screenshot in the Discord for your reference.
I saw that. I think I know who it is. The legend.
Okay.
I'm not going to reveal their identity.
No, don't do that. Let's keep it a secret.
Never. I will never do that. Ah, well. I was going to post my PayPal in chat.
But Jangles, come on. Like, you must have known inside that, like, he wasn't going to agree to this debate.
I knew in my heart. I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit it to myself. Yes, Live Champs, he deleted his entire Twitter.
All right. I'm trying to add Simon to the chat to Discord, but I don't know how to do it.
Discord. Here, I want to post the invite in the YouTube chat. So if anyone wants to come on and talk, you are more than welcome. I had set aside 2 hours.
Can you add it to the group DM as well?
I can.
Cool.
So which group DM?
You know, the one
The bigger one or the smaller one?
I don't know which one's big or small.
The one that is the Conrad appreciation.
The Slacker Revolutionaries.
Oh yeah, there we go. I'm also gonna add it to the chat. So if you want to join our Discord, it's sort of my Discord, but it's our Discord. It's all of our Discords. And wants to come on and ask me any questions about the research that I did, or yell at me for everything I got wrong, you are more than welcome. Or if you want to debate me.
Justin, could you summarize what's the? I know that thesis is the wrong word, but if you were to summarize the thesis in like a few sentences, what would it be?
The thesis of Derrida or postmodernism?
Derrida.
Derrida. That's actually
or grammatical or whatever it's called.
Of grammatology. So he calls for the abandonment of both attempting to set forth ontological descriptions of reality and the idea that something transcendent is present in reality, specifically in text and in language.
So what does that mean that something is transcendent in reality?
It means that there is no meaning beyond language. So to go back to the example of when I say cat, if you were to assume that is referring to something, some greater idea, some greater meaning, that meaning would have to exist outside of language. And language is just a sign for the thing that transcends language. It is like, but it's still contained within reality. And Derrida says, nope, there's nothing that transcends reality. The text that's all there is. There's nothing outside of the text.
See, when I said that this reminded me of presuppositionalism, I guess what I meant is that it seems like Derrida is accepting unintelligibility island. He's like, yes, I live on unintelligibility island, and you know he's just embracing it. He's building his home on unintelligibility island. So in that way, the two philosophies do kind of agree.
Well, I guess,
if that makes sense.
It makes. I'm doing some stuff. I'm trying to post it in chat, and apparently it says invalid invite. I'm a boomer. Sorry about this. Oh, Conrad. Well, someone joined.
Who joined?
Oh,
Bearded. Well, I don't. Let's see. Someone with a beard.
Someone with a beard.
It'd be really good to get like a Saga Knight, like you're saying here, and tear strips out of them or some shit.
If anybody knows anybody who wants to debate me,
I'm trying to get this guy to come. There's actually this guy who is attempting to own me. He's been following me around from thread to thread, attempting to own me. And I told him he should come on the live stream, but I don't know. It seems like there's a real case of cold feet going around. Everyone seems to have it. talk a lot of shit on Twitter behind your Avi, but you don't want to come on a live stream. Oh, that's interesting.
I'm taking all comers.
Jangles, are you not in Dir server?
In Dir server?
Crowd server.
I am. I'm just not super active in a lot of stuff.
Okay, because like there's some people there. Like I don't know if they would agree to it. I mean, I don't know. I'll try. I'll talk to some people.
Yeah. Like I said, I put aside quite a bit of time. So I'm not doing anything else for most of the rest of the night. Ah, crap.
Hold on, I'm gonna I don't mean to alarm you. I'm going to antagonize someone on the internet. I know that's very out of character for me, but I am going to do it.
Absolutely. Go ahead and antagonize everybody. Hey, Red, what's up?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can absolutely hear you.
Alrighty.
So you had something to say about presuppositionalism.
Yeah, well, so presuppositionalism, when if it's, the way it's designed comes out of, there's, I don't know how much you guys know about epistemology, but there's a few different, there's a few different theories of truth and stuff like that that you can go by. So presuppers rely on coherentism. Or if it's done well, like, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Who's the big one that does it?
Calvin Van something?
No, the I don't recognize that name, but the big one that goes around with the atheists and stuff, that hangs out with Hovind. Why am I drawing a blank on him right now? I just got this argument.
Cy-Ten.
Yeah, Cy-Ten Bruggencate, yeah.
Okay.
So he'll sit there and he's really dumb about it. He's basically...
I haven't thought of any of these names in years, by the way. This is a blast from the past.
Yeah. Well, he does it really bad because it's what he tries to do is get you to justify everything. But so there's this thing in philosophy, the Munchausen trilemma, where any attempt at truth is going to get you into circular reasoning, arbitrariness, or infinite regress. And so when they're arguing like presuppositionalism, if they're doing it well, like when it was first introduced about, like 70 years ago or whatever, they're arguing strictly from coherentism so that their system best explains all the available facts is what they're trying to argue from. And so what happens, what really kind of bugs a lot of people is they haven't decided which of the three horns of the Munchausen trilemma they're going to accept. So like a foundationalist would be someone who would be arbitrary. So from axioms, which we aren't justifying, we can get truth that way. So that, I mean, then if I don't know too many people who take the infinite regress with their epistemology. So I haven't read a whole lot of arguments for it, but that's kind of where they're arguing from, because there is no, so even like Karl Popper would say there's no getting to truth 100%.
Is Karl Popper the guy who is he's a Christian philosopher, right? And he's arguing that evolution can't be true because without it, there's no way for evolution to like land on truth.
I don't think that's him.
Well, he had an issue, like, so he's famous for.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of Plantinga, totally different guy. Sorry.
I've actually read some Karl Popper. He's like a philosopher of science, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
so he made the distinction between science and pseudoscience and kind of the argument. So there was logical positivism.
Yep.
Was big, and so
that's like scientific epistemology, right?
Yeah, that's where science is the only question there, and you're going out to prove everything there. And so Popper brought in falsifiability, so that in order to tell the difference between
science and pseudoscience, you need to be able to falsify something. There needs to be you need to be able to present some sort of situation that would falsify the framework that you're putting forth.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, if you can make your framework fit everything, if you just twist it hard enough, it's pseudoscience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he was against evolution early on, but came around on it later.
Okay. Yeah.
Very early in his career, he called evolution pseudoscience. So there's some arguments that way, but but even he would say that, you know, like the hard truths and everything else that we see in there aren't 100% certainty, absolute things and stuff like that. And that's because of the Munchausen trilemma that we have.
Munchausen
Can
trilemma.
I just interrupt this very high-level discussion for a moment to say that the Twitter user @MookJuice is a coward and a moron, and he has a stupid face, and he's afraid to come on live stream and debate me. Okay, you can go on.
Worth it.
Everyone should go to Twitter user @MookJuice and harass him on the internet. In Minecraft.
Harass him on the internet in Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
Okay, that's my area of expertise. I'm on it. Okay.
He's on it.
Cool.
Okay. Chud, the legend.
No, but I mean, so in that, and especially dealing with like Saitan Bergenkate, you want to blow his mind. He likes to make the argument that, you know, the laws of logic, and try to argue that way and stuff there. And so the best way to go to him and really just bug him is to bring up logics that discard or get rid of those laws of logic.
So what would be an example of that?
Well, so the three that most people go are, you know, laws of logic, non-contradiction, identity, and excluded middle.
Mm-hmm.
But we have logics that do away with excluded middle. So excluded middle is it's either this or not that, whereas we have multivariate logics and all sorts of other ones.
So an example of the excluded middle would be if I said there is A or not A.
Like, well, with your conclusion, so it can only be that, you can only be this thing or something else, where you can have like a multivariate logic where you can have, you know, something in between.
Okay.
You know, you can have a third option. So we have logics that do it with that, but he really likes the logic of the law of non-contradiction. And so we have
that is a basic building block of presuppositionalist epistemology. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then you introduce them to I'm butchering the pronunciation, but dialectic paraconsistent logics. Which,
okay, I don't know what that is.
So they're logics that loosen the constraints of the law of non-contradiction, and in some cases allow you to work with true contradictions.
Okay.
Yeah, see, this is why I'm not a philosophy guy. I spent 20 hours of research on philosophy. I have no idea what you're talking about. Because
I'm lost. An argument I've tried to use against a presuppositionalist to various success is so their basic building block of their epistemology is that the definition of knowledge is justified true. What is it? Justified truth.
Justified true belief.
Justified true belief. So if I believe in something and I have a justification for it and it's true, then that qualifies as knowledge. But an example of a justified true belief is the stopwatch being right twice a day, right?
Yep.
But a stopwatch is not a reasonable means of telling time. In fact, if you have a watch that is a minute off, but you're not sure exactly if it's fast or slow, or if it's exactly a minute, that watch is a better time telling mechanism than the stopwatch, even though the stopwatch is right twice a day and your slow watch or fast watch is never right. And every single person on Earth uses a watch that is some amount off. They're not exactly sure how much, and no one uses a stopwatch. So that's an example of their epistemological system failing. That's an argument I've tried to make. I don't know if I've never had it scrutinized by a logician before.
Well, I mean, that's the Gettier problem, right? With justified true belief has been, you know, since the Enlightenment, the main form of knowledge.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what the Gettier problems point out, that in some instances that justified true belief's not enough. And so there's a whole host of other.
I didn't realize that that justified true belief dated back to the Enlightenment. I actually thought it came out of like Calvinism.
No, justified true belief goes back. I mean, some of the ideas go back to Aristotle, but it kind of became the main form. In Enlightenment, Renaissance, Enlightenment, stuff like that.
There used to be an atheist podcast called Reasonable Doubt, and there was a guy on that. I don't remember his name, but he was really, really good at debating pre-suppers, and he would tear apart justified true belief. He actually came out of a Calvinist upbringing, I believe. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. The podcast hasn't been around in years.
Yeah, I don't recognize the name.
It used to be hosted on Free Thought blogs.
All right, yeah, I was kind of late to that. I kind of got in following YouTube atheism and kind of the atheism community just as it was splitting, that 2012, 2013 into.
Oh wait, are you the elevator gate guy? Oh my God.
No, not that guy. No, I just came to like YouTube atheism and stuff, and so I think Hannah and Jake now were kind of my first kind of there. We're one of the first ones. There's them, and then found my way into like Atheist Experience and TJ, and I fell down the anti-SJW thing.
So when did you get out of the anti-SJW? Do you think?
I mean, I still like some of them over there,
who do you like?
I'm not in.
Like?
Well, it's like Shu and TJ and.
Yeah, I actually don't have a big problem. TJ can be a real shithead sometimes, but I don't necessarily. He's when he's right, he can be right, but when he's really wrong, and
he's really wrong on a lot of stuff too. Yeah. Like so, and I say that a lot, some of the ones. But yeah, so those are the ones I still kind of pay any kind of attention to. Like, so I like TJ's podcast. I don't watch much Amazing Atheist anymore whenever he puts anything out there.
I haven't watched anything by him in a while.
But yeah, like
one of the last things I watched from him was I once got him really, really mad on Twitter, and he went in his backyard and he recorded like a 17-minute video of him yelling at me back when I had like 100 followers, and he just got ratioed by people being like, "Dude, that guy has 100 followers. What are you doing?"
Yeah,
that happened. Oh.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but no, like that
was a while. I was very new on Twitter at that time.
Yeah, I'm only been on Twitter for 2 years now, so
cool.
I miss all those fights. No, but like I watch like Deep Fat Fried, their podcast. So like the portion of Drunken Peasants that left with them, so his brother and Paul, they do a pretty good job, kind of like these hour-long episodes that they just dig into stuff. So that's about what I follow there. But yeah, no, like all the other ones like Sargon and stuff, are fucking ridiculous. And it's not like I was against him anyways. I voted Sanders in 2016 and, all that other stuff. So
so you voted Sanders in the primary. What'd you do in the general?
Vote a third party.
Nice. Who'd you vote for?
I voted Gary Johnson.
For a second I thought you said Gary Johnson.
Yeah.
So you were kind of libertarian at that time.
I mean, no, I'd kind of left him at that point. I was coming in, into college and stuff like that. So I'm probably the oldest one in the room right now, but
I'm in my mid-30s.
All right, so you're older than me. I'm only 31.
Okay, yeah.
I'm the youngest one here. I'm 21.
He is but a tiny baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was, and I still consider myself, a fiscal conservative and stuff, which is a whole nother conversation.
You want to play the whole socially liberal,
really
fiscally conservative.
I'm not prepared to have any of these conversations. Oh, I can show y'all a journal entry I put in. It's gonna show up for y'all in like a couple seconds. Yeah, I was so like the entirety of today was me trying to get Conrad just to agree to something.
Conrad, come on, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So disappointed, but you kind of had to. That's kind of in the back of my mind.
None of us can say we're surprised.
None of us can say we're surprised.
I'll be honest. I think Conrad's come up on top of all this, and I think he's cucked you, to be honest.
I have been cucked.
No.
Is he somewhere else right now?
I think Conrad's been cucked because he deleted his ass off Twitter and ran away like a bitch.
No, but think about this. Jangles has done so much research, hasn't he? He's wasted.
Okay, I kind of have to agree with you there because Justin, yeah. I advise, let the record show your friend Logic Guy advised you not to read the book. I said it. I was on record saying, do not read the book. Skim the Cliff's notes and just tell them you read the book. I advise you to lie.
You did. No, this is true. You had the correct assumption, the correct recommendation.
And as a result, you have been kind of cucked. It's true. It's not wrong. It's not wrong.
It's
Where's
not
the
wrong.
lie? Am I right?
I said it at the beginning of the string. If he was trying to troll me from the beginning and just make me do a bunch of work for nothing, I have to applaud him. He did it. Like it was so well done. I can't even be mad.
But to put it another way, he got you to read a book, thus arming you with the most dangerous weapon of all, knowledge.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So really, who lost here, you know?
If we look at all of philosophy, the teeny tiny sliver of postmodernism I feel comfortable talking about. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a Pyrrhic victory, really, because obviously he's had to yeet himself off Twitter, and he's lost his ability to spread his philosophy.
yes.
Conrad Goldism.
I want debate. Give me links. I'll check. Mabasi, if you want to debate.
Who wants to debate?
But none of the links are working for them.
Oh, is this Simon?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's having a hard time.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a huge boomer. None of the links that I'm sending out, they seem to work for half the people and not the other half.
Are you talking like Discord links?
Yes.
You don't have them set like a limited number of clicks, do you? Or
I don't think so. You know what? I'll check. Moderation overview. This is an exciting part of the stream.
Talk amongst yourselves. Everyone go around the room and talk about your favorite Conrad moment. Tread Logic, let's start with you.
Okay, so I talked about this a bit in my video, but my favorite moment is just to kind of cut it down quite quickly, went to his Twitter, his pinned tweet had no engagement. I commented and said how shit his tweet was. Okay, I left. I come back a month later. The only engagement it has is my comment telling him that it's shit. So obviously I commented again and said, "Look, just delete your account. It's over. You're done." So maybe that is what made him delete his account in the end. It took a bit of a while to, get it into his head, but yeah, that's my favorite memory.
But there's an even better part to it, which is that when he finally switched the pinned tweet, he switched it to a pinned tweet where he had tons of interaction, but was him getting ratioed, which is an amazing power move.
Yeah, that is a Chad move. The ultimate flex.
Yeah, seriously. Conrad legit has big dick energy. BDE, man.
Like, I will say,
anyone else want to reflect on a favorite Conrad
something
moment?
I legit respect about Conrad is that he put up with a ton of, I wouldn't call it abuse, but he would get ratioed 100 to 1.
Let me just say, as Justin's lawyer, it was not abuse.
Yes. He would put up with 100 to 1 ratio.
Yeah, that's true.
He would legit get 100 to 1 ratios. That happened. And
I know.
And the likes he would get would be other people dunking on him, who were just like, Conrad, I got to give it up to you. Like a classy liberal. You would like his tweets all the time, I noticed. Which
is fair. I knew why you were doing it, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, press F for Conrad, man. Conrad gang, rise up.
Conrad gang, I did love
him. So if I had a favorite Conrad moment, it would be earlier today when I said, Conrad, when are you going to contact Justin on Discord? And he replied to me for, I think, the first time ever. He would never reply to me directly, and he said, "Who are you supposed to be?" And that was my favorite Conrad moment. And I replied, "A fan, #Conrad gang."
Yeah, that was a good ass meme.
Yeah. I still like, what was it, a couple weeks ago where he was in Sarah's Twitch chat and, got called out, and then it's like, oh no, you're going to identify me over voice.
I was there. Okay, it looks like this new link is actually working.
friend requests? How do I do friend requests?
Have you shown yet on stream the meme that he was plagued by for his entire Twitter existence?
Let's see if I can find it.
Get it up.
Dude, that's the Conrad meme. That is the Conrad meme.
Yeah, that is. Everywhere he went, every time I saw him, I'd look down, that meme was there. That meme was always there. Holy shit.
Where is... I'm trying to find Sand. What's his handle? It's Sand, right? Like the sand guy, a jar of sand or something like that? Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it's jar of sand. You boys got it.
Jar of sand. Where is he? No. I can't find
No,
him.
it's the true sand. It's the true sand.
There we go. The true sand. There he is. I'm just gonna check his replies. It's gonna be
Yeah, for sure. Can we just say as well, criminally underfollowed for the work he has done?
criminally underfollowed. So go follow at the true sand. I'm putting it on. Hold on, let's see. I'm putting it on right now if I can.
Good evening, crowd.
Good evening. I'm posting right now.
Good morning. Hey, crowd is in the server? Oh, I didn't know that.
Me and the boys will beat you. This is the meme. That got,
It plagued him.
it plagued
It's going to haunt him.
It followed him everywhere, and I love it. So please go follow at the True Sand. No, I'm sorry. Let's see. Yes, at the True Sand. Go follow him.
There was the
I have
edit
to
as well.
confess, I was not following at the True Sand, but I am now.
Look at it. It's beautiful.
We have Kraut in the server right now. Kraut.
Hey, Kraut, what's up, bro?
Not much. I was reading a book. Lost time. Now it's 4 a.m.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, because you're all the way over there. Anybody in Europe listening right now, go to bed.
Yeah, go to bed.
I miss out on the Conrad fucking memes. No thanks.
Oh, I was going to listen to that the next morning while playing some game or something.
I know. I'm legit. All joking aside, I was so ready for this. I was like preparing as much as in good faith as I possibly could. I wasn't even gonna yell at him. I was gonna like be as nice as I could.
That's probably why I didn't go, because I got wind of that. Because you said you were preparing. You should have pretended that you were not preparing. You should have, act like you forgot or something.
Yeah.
Or
I
you
should have
could
played
just
this
pretend to prepare and not prepare at all. Would have been the same thing.
Yeah.
He's probably gone now. He won't come back for a while now.
I hope he goes and has a good life. He stays away from Twitter and he just enjoys his life.
I'm sorry, but do you people really think this was a real person? He claims to be a 31-year-old PhD student. What?
Did anyone
Studying-
believe that? That's my first question. Like, this guy never even described his dissertation to us.
Well, I actually do believe it. Like, in LSP server, he would post a lot of like scientific journals, and he knew how to get around paywalls for scientific journals. That's why I legitimately believe him.
Yeah, but he could be an undergrad too. An undergrad could do the same thing.
So, like, I read like the American Historical Review like all the time, and I am nowhere near anywhere qualified to understand that shit. Like, he could also just be taking in this information and regurgitating it, acting like he's in the right spot. Like, it doesn't take much to, like, fit yourself into the persona and just act like you are. Hey, what's up? I'm Sam, by the way.
Hi, Sam.
Okay, but that's why I said, like, who would win in a debate? Someone who, had 3 days of research versus someone who watched, like, 500 Sargon videos or Dinkery videos.
3 days of research.
Dude, like, you can write your dissertation based on those Dinkery videos. Just saying.
Look, one thing's for sure, regardless of where he is now or who he is, one thing's for sure, and that is that Conrad is absolutely listening to this live stream right now. So let me just say, what's up, Conrad?
Conrad, I did love it.
I miss you, Conrad.
Conrad,
you a real one, Conrad.
Conrad, you gave me shit for citing a Marxist historian some time ago. And the thing is, Conrad, when you study history, your political views they're kind of irrelevant. Like, especially German historians, they use this thing called Milieutheorie. I think the direct translation would be milieu theory, which has its origins in France during the 60s, developed by Marxist philosophers to explain social movements that lead to revolution, and was adopted by Germans in the 70s, by German historians more specifically, to analyze historical social developments and how they interact with each other, and how one social class can dissolve and devolve into different new social classes, etc., etc. So, yeah, the political views of some academics are less relevant than the work that they produce. It's a matter of the validity.
Crap, can you say all that again, but I just add some more kayfabe? Be like, Conrad, you a clown. I'm going to take you to clown school.
All right, but here's the thing, Crowd. He was a Marxist. He can't remove his bias. That's the issue with the left.
Sometimes that's not necessarily bad.
Yeah, it's not. But like, go back to making anti-feminist videos.
There is no such thing as complete lack of bias in the humanities.
Actually, Crowd, I would be really interested to hear your opinions since I did do so much research. Are you familiar with Derrida at all, and do you have opinions on postmodernism?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't have any. I haven't researched that. But if Conrad is really listening, I'm just going to say, tell me something, Conrad. If Thomas Sowell, that conservative American sociologist, left his biases out of his analysis that he does of social developments, specifically economic developments, does that invalidate his work?
So this is
Conrad. We know you're listening. Call in and answer, please.
So this is actually a true statement. So if you think that it's impossible to take away your biases, so a part of modernism
in the humanities, I believe it's not very possible.
Oh yeah, so a modernist would believe that philosophers are capable of being objective, dispassionate observers of reality, and postmodernists reject
ideal.
that.
I think it's an ideal that you can strive for. It's an ideal that I will strive for.
Oh yeah,
when I work, but we have to accept that we have biases.
Yeah, and
the result of accepting it.
Yeah, Crowd, I actually trust that
criticism.
Yeah, Crowd, I actually trust that you'll know if I get any of this wrong. So please feel free to tell me if I'm wrong.
I think I'm a lot less smarter than you.
But so part of because you know history way better than I do, part of Enlightenment thinking eventually led to this notion that we could know things objectively for certain, and that knowledge was good. Is that somewhere close to it?
Well, I'm not entirely sure about that. The one thing that I adhere to is far older than the Enlightenment. It's just Socrates' maxim, that the only thing you know is that you know nothing. You need to accept that there's limits to your knowledge, that you're not all-knowing, that you can always be corrected.
Oh, yeah.
That's my opinion.
No, I definitely agree with that. I was asking if that was a mode of thinking that came from the Enlightenment, that it was possible.
Yeah, you could at some point know everything.
Yeah,
subjectively. Okay. I don't think so, really. I think because the people who the Enlightenment challenged, the absolute monarchs and the Catholic Church, those were people who claimed that they knew everything. And the challenge to that kind of was during the Enlightenment to say, no, you don't know everything.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, I'd step in. I mean, you got Hume's problem of induction, and even his, reason is not should be the slave of the passions, or I probably butchered the phrase, but yeah. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
The chat is getting a bit full, so I'm going to drop out. Maybe I'll drop in later. See you guys. Have a good one.
Crap, thanks for popping by. Appreciate it. And so, does anybody disagree with the notion that we can't know things objectively? That we can't know things for certain?
I definitely think that we can't know things for certain. I think we can know things provisionally. I mean, I think
Sorry, just to chip in, Simon's here.
Woo! Awesome. Is Mabuse? Is that you, Simon?
Nope, I am not Simon.
Oh, never mind then.
What's up?
I believe Simon's having some trouble. Where he is.
S Rattle is Simon.
S Rattle. Let's fucking get it.
Who's Mabasi? What's up, dude?
Yeah, what's up?
So what are we debating here?
I don't know if we're debating anything.
Yeah, we can debate anything. I am ready, man. I did so much prep on Derrida and postmodernism. I am ready to debate anything regarding those two things because I am very stupid regarding everything else. I know.
I've got the debate subject. Okay. You ready? PP or poo poo?
Oh, PP.
Oh,
obviously.
Man. The age-old debate. There's no resolving this one.
There's no resolving this one. I know a lot about three things now. I know a lot about comedy, transgender issues, and postmodernism. Those are the three things I know. So if you want to debate any of those three things, anybody?
Hey, Jangles, there's only 2 genders.
Oh no.
There are like 1,006 genders. Let's name them all in song form.
Oh boy.
You know, one of the on the topic of gender, when I went to go troll Charlie Kirk in person, there's an element of that no one's picked up on, which is that Charlie Kirk said that his West Point spot was given away to someone of a different gender, and so the thing I asked him was, Charlie, if they were a different gender, do you know what gender they were? And I was really looking forward to where he'd go with that, but it was completely ignored.
Dude,
well,
you have been
in other questions, hasn't he?
Oh, the Greeks here.
The Greek. Oh, you discriminating against me, you peasants.
Hi, one species. How are you?
Hi, I am fine.
What's going on, dude?
First of all, let me do a live react, and then I'll ask you the crucial question. So my live react is, you have been actually clipped thousands and thousands of times by groypers. Just know that.
Wait, are you talking to me? Because I do know that.
Yeah. I'm talking to you.
Guys, I hate to break this to you, but I do have a groyper following.
Anyway, I'll try to be a bit whispery because it's really late here.
Anna Kasparian also called me a groyper on TYT.
What?
Oh my God. You're getting the covert operation cred, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
So just to go off on a small tangent, does anyone else have a desire to have their PFP turn into a groyper?
Probably not.
I don't even know what that means.
I'm okay. Okay, let's do the flash version of groyper education. When the meme, the Kekistani meme was still alive, there were few people who were doing it ironically and few people who were doing it as ironic Nazis, which is not so ironic. But at some point, you know, the ironic Nazis reinvented their looks by a meme somebody posted with a fat, kind of different Pepe.
Wait, there is an important part of the story too, which is that Pepe creator Matt Fury actually sued people who tried to capitalize off of his drawing. So that was another reason why they had to abandon Pepe.
Yeah. And now you have the complete story. Basically, it's what the Fuentes fans use for an avatar and for memes. It's a groyper. That's it.
Also,
but now the real questions: what happened? Did Conrad arrive? Is this a warm-up? What happened in my life?
I'm sorry.
Whoa, guys! I just realized something. Someone in this chat is Conrad.
What?
Conrad did show up, and it's one of the people in here. One of us is Conrad.
One of us is Conrad.
The calls from inside the house.
One of us.
Oh my God! If Conrad was actually here, I would be so happy.
I think Justin is Conrad. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know why? Because only 2 people have read Derrida, and it's you 2. So it makes sense.
This is all a massive clout play on the part of...
Yeah, oh my God, clout. Chasing clout, bro.
guys.
Challenging himself to a debate, then backing out of it by deleting his account.
Just drop it, okay? Just drop it. Just stop talking about it.
Doth protest too much.
Let's just be objective here. Just give me the straight up scoop. Did he pull out of the debate?
So you don't know what happened?
No, because I was so.
So you have no idea what happened.
Let me tell you what I was doing so that you know. I was having my grandson.
Your grandson. You were hanging out with your grandson, and you missed the news.
No. I was hanging out with Dankula on his D Live, and he was executing my brain cells one by one. But
is he really on doing a live stream right now?
The Dankula, not anymore.
Oh.
Not after we obliterated every possible.
What did you do?
With him, at the beginning, it was a nice discussion. Then he went full Muppet Show. But anyway, we'll process that another day.
Wait, you went on the live stream?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Anyways, yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh no! So now you know that I didn't have any ability to know what happened here. So now you give me the scoop.
Who wants to do it?
You didn't show up.
Well, it's a little worse than that, though.
It's a little worse than that. I feel like I should do it just because I'm the one.
Yeah, go for it.
I did all the makeup. I did all the reading. I get to explain to Greg what happened. Conrad deleted his account.
Oh, what?
Conrad is off the internet. He self-deleted.
Oh, sad violin music 10 times. No.
Yeah, I posted that.
No, where? Link me. I like it. No.
I don't know how to link to someone not being on the internet. It's like you can't link to that.
No, go. It would be more impactful if you went and searched it for yourself. If you typed in at Bronze Swords.
Oh my god!
And looked for yourself and saw that it didn't exist.
One more thing. What's his name? Sargon is back on Twitter under an alt, and I introduced him to Conrad right before he deleted, and I tried to get him to follow Conrad, and he refused. And I think that might have something to do with it. I think it might have he might be so crestfallen that he self-deleted.
He lost an opportunity with El Chapo or Don, just to avoid Justin. My God, Justin, you're one.
I did so much work for this stream. I did.
Dude, you know people try to warn you not to invest your time like this.
I know, but I kind of disagree with that though, because the thing is. Dude, you targeted harassed a guy off the internet. That's pretty good, man. Honestly, okay. Yeah, like I'm doing the 07 right now, man. Saluting, because honestly, you chased the guy off the internet. That's pretty funny.
It's nothing to do with Justin, okay? It is the grenade quote tweet. I'm telling you, that is the fucking.
So can I take it as a secret?
It also could have been Sargon refusing to follow him. There's a couple things it could have been. To be fair.
Yeah, Senpai didn't notice him.
Yeah, Senpai did not know. Senpai noticed him and was like, "No, thanks."
Yeah, just chucked him aside like a tissue.
Can I be really real with you guys for a second? Like, can I tell
be
you
real, bro. That's what this is, man. It's a bro.
So I was legitimately preparing to become a therapy session for Conrad. Like, if he was a real person, this is someone who actually needs to talk to someone. And I'm not memeing, I'm not shitposting right now. I was prepared to talk with him. Like, why are you being so antagonistic towards all these Twitter accounts? Why are you going so hard on people and insulting them and being like this? Let's talk about it. Why do you think this way?
Justin, that's why he deleted, because that's too real for him. He was scared of feeling vulnerable, and that's why he deleted.
Guys, we've been played. It was Sargon all along, and he just deleted that alt and just jumped on a new one. Ding, ding, ding.
He has at least two right now, right? He has Backworldsman and then Mecha Sargon, right? At least two.
I've lost track. I saw the new one.
I didn't know there was a new one.
There is a tweet. If you find, there is somewhere a tweet recent, but anyway, I'm tired of all the anime comebacks of Sargon on Twitter.
I do want to hear your Dankula story. I'm very interested in this.
Listen, it was pretty predictable in the sense that I didn't expect it to go any better, to be honest. But the problem is that in the beginning, I got some hope that it would work.
Mm-hmm.
We started a rough discussion on not only like his case a bit, free speech, hate speech, kind of like there.
Yeah.
I was trying to focus on like talking about the actual phenomena and what we can know about their danger.
The phenomenon of what?
The behaviors generally. I didn't want to talk legislation. I want to talk behaviors of, for example, abusing the online platforms or abusing the online discourse in ways.
Do you think that that Dankula abused the online platform?
No, but I thought exactly for that reason he would be one of the good people to discuss this with, because if it became more clear what's going on, okay, we would have a chance in the future to prevent false positives.
False positives of what?
False positives of people who basically get in legal trouble because of their speech.
Okay.
A false positive for me is somebody that's not actually posing actual danger,
Which, in my opinion, Dankula was not.
Yeah, in my opinion, too. Here's the thing. He's standing next to all the grifters, but because his content is not political and hammering all the same talking points all the time, he has a few free speech talking points that
he actually does do political content.
No, he does, but he doesn't have that. Let me put it this way. He's not reskinning every episode with some different skin and talking about white genocide again and again and again. Like fucking Molyneux, white genocide in 35 different thousand ways. He's going to go political, but for me, he doesn't make an exclusive ecosystem, whether you either move further to one direction of thinking or you start losing interest. No, it's more varied. So I would put him exclusively in the neutral cases. Now, I find his free speech advocacy problematic a bit because it's basically delusional. It's just like me saying, give everyone a platform, give everyone a free speech.
Yeah, that is something that's a common theme among them.
Yeah, here's the thing.
It's a contradiction that I don't feel like they really address in any way. Not a contradiction, but it's a flaw they don't seem to address in any way. What is a platform's obligation to host you? That's a question I would like to see people like him address.
I've actually got a point to make about the free speech debate because I live in the UK, so I've kind of got my finger on the pulse in some respects, right? Now, what really frustrates me is it's always defending, the free speech to say the most juvenile shit, like, for example, to make Holocaust jokes, right?
Yep.
Now, for me, a free speech issue in the UK are what are called super injunctions. Are you familiar with these at all?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so just a real quick overview. A celebrity can go to a court and they can prevent a newspaper from preventing true information about them because it is potentially damaging to their brand or their reputation, right? And that's an injunction. A super injunction is an extra layer on top of that where newspapers cannot report on the existence of the injunction. So it basically completely crushes the ability for the press to report on that particular
signal
incident.
Anything about a real event.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a free speech issue. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I have never seen any of these free speech grifted dipshits make any content in regards to that. It's always, I want to be able to make Holocaust jokes or bash Muslims. Do you see what I mean?
This was actually the subject that that I had brought up with the Titanium McGrath guy, Andrew Doyle, and that Dankula and I got in an argument about, and he invited me onto his stream to talk about it, which I was interested in doing, but he told me he only streams at my time 2 p.m. on the Thursdays. And I was like, well, do you do it on the weekends ever? And he was like, no. That's why I'm surprised to learn that he was just streaming earlier today.
Who, Dankula?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he had a rough temporary change of schedule because he was moving, as he said now in the stream. So.
Yeah. Well, when he invited me on, he was like, "Well, I'm going to be doing it 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which is 2 p.m. my time." And I was like, "Okay, well, maybe I'll try to do it." And then he ended up not even doing it because he legitimately did go to the hospital. He has health problems, so
oh yeah,
it completely fell through. Did he invite you on to show up?
Yeah, I probably annoyed him yesterday on Twitter or something, and he thought, let's get this done. Let's get this moped sorted. But here's the thing. When one element of the discussion was he insisted on the public square definition of the platforms, which is completely delusional. I'm making a video about it, but it was good to hear the same stuff
the
again.
Dennis Prager sort of argument that they've made recently. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, similar to that. But anyway, the core issue was this. We made a general discussion because I wanted to establish I'm not a censorship idiot.
Yeah.
But as long as we allow things to trickle down from speech to violence, government will always intervene. So if we want the government to not intervene, the necessity has to kind of like be eliminated. And there are social ways to do that. And I was trying to discuss on that direction because the whole system will be less overburdened. Like now, and I was also arguing that, the transfer of culture from, real life to online is still an experiment. Like we're still trying to get things right. And anyway,
in an experiment, I think we're pretty much lost in the weeds in that experiment. I think we're in a real kind of like we're in a really untested and kind of dangerous area, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too. But I try not to be panicky and think in terms of factors and solutions. But the problem started in the conversation when Dankula asked me something about those things. But I felt that he was missing the greater point because anyway, so I thought I would make a bigger point, and then he would get his answer and the bigger point. And the point I made to him is that classical liberals, so-called, and leftists could theoretically have the exact same values and principles. But the main difference is that the classical liberals will fucking comp them principles all day, keep them nice and comped and shiny, but they won't check how they apply in reality. While what the left cares about is not the legal prescriptions or the letter of the law, but how people experience life on the ground. Because on paper, we have free speech, financial freedom, prosperity, health rights, and so on. But in practice, you get a very diverse experience depending on the individual, right? So I was trying to build that case. And although to a degree he started understanding, for some fucking reason, at some point he hopped on the argument that but the real problem with activism is that they don't want to quit. And he was making the argument that, activism itself should target, making oneself redundant by solving the problem and then, dissolving that activistic form. And I was telling him, yeah, that exists. Like, for example, abolitionists wanted something very specific about the legal system of America. And once the abolition of slavery was achieved, they all turned into other things, politicians, professionals, musicians, blah, blah, blah. But there are other things like the civil rights movement where, because the process is ongoing, it's about improving lives. It's not just about changing one law. Then you have, long-term activism that engages with the problem long-term. And then the whole fucking 2.5 hours of the conversation from that point on went to shit because Dangula thought that the ironclad argument right there was that still gay right activism in Europe is pointless. All the rights are covered there. What's the point?
No, but he's full of shit there because we literally in London about 4 weeks ago have had I always fucking forget them. Extinction Rebellion have their rights curtailed, so they couldn't protest in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah, he made it specific about gay rights, and when I told him that in Europe there are areas with huge problems on gay rights, he narrowed it down to England. Then after collapsing on a lower position, he also passed me the burden of proving that gay activists actually have a reason to exist in Europe, while the truth is he needed to support that they don't need to exist. He made the claim first. And from there on, it was just a shitbag where, sorry for the language, folks, that
It's okay.
I was trying to clean up his manipulation tactics, getting that microphone time going and, saying bullshit. And I was trying to battle with that and go back to the subject. And every time I was trying to give him an example, I don't know, he would have a brain fart and say that proves me wrong or something. Anyway.
How long were you on the stream?
Oh, I don't know, 4.5.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Are you?
So we have
that's
some
incredible.
people.
Oh my God.
I think Simon just left.
About DLive, it doesn't archive any of it. So once the stream's down, it's down. Like that, it's gone forever.
That's what you think, noobs.
Oh no! You recorded on your end?
Of course.
Fuck yes! Fuck yeah, dude! Always recording on your end. Always recording. Fuck yeah!
Of course, of course.
Hey guys,
that was my biggest mistake when I was on Quartering's live stream. I was so fucking stupid that I didn't record.
Oh, always record. So everyone, we have some people on here that I would love to have talk. We have Simon and we have Oreo, two of my best friends online who are really, really cool people. So
yo, Oreo, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
There's Simon too.
Hey.
I said hi, Simon, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear me. It's like I don't really get how this thing works.
Yeah, well, you are
we can hear
on
you.
stream right
It's
now.
nice to finally talk to you. I've talked to most of the people here before. It's nice to talk to you.
So
Yeah, cool.
How are both of you
Cheers.
doing?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm good. I'm doing
Since
good.
about like 4 o'clock, so about 12, almost 8 hours now.
The
Maybe 9
absolute
hours.
legend staying until 4 a.m. Oreo, it's late for me, so it's even late for Oreo. So thank you all
it's
so
8
much.
o'clock where I live. I actually remember pulling off an all-nighter where I just did nothing but play Madden all night. That's all I did was play Madden on my PlayStation 2 until like.
Oh wait! Can I say something? Isaiah, our friend Oreo, is going to my college, my alma mater, Columbia College, right?
Yeah, I actually don't know yet because there's other colleges
Okay.
I applied to, so I'm just waiting for them. But
That's
Columbia
cool, dude.
does
I just
have
want
my
to say like,
interest, though.
congratulations, and if you ever want to reach out to me, I've been there and I was in the program. I don't know if you're planning on studying film or whatnot.
I'm gonna study photography.
Yeah, I took a lot of photography classes too, so I actually know that I knew the pretty well.
Our friend group
nice.
is really awesome. So, our new people. So, Oreo and Simon, are y'all just devastated that Conrad is gone?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to him actually.
Yeah. Simon, what about you?
I just wanted to listen to you destroy him, to be honest.
And everyone wanted to hear his voice. I think that's the biggest thing we lost out on.
You were expecting the nerdy voice, weren't you?
Well, to be
Well, I
honest,
think Justin did the voice earlier, and I think he nailed it.
He absolutely crushed it, to be honest.
I did a
Hi,
reading
my name's
earlier,
Conrad.
which I hope someone clips that or takes it and just has it.
Hoy, my name's Conrad. That's the voice I was expecting.
So I did so much research. I actually legit did
Like, when you
work.
do
I
so
was
much
like,
research for a debate, and like the person doesn't show up or they cancel it, and it just feels like you did it for nothing. It's just
well,
yeah.
I actually did enjoy doing all the research. I did enjoy doing all the reading. And I was hoping like.
Can I pose you?
Oh
guys?
wait, Justin, can you talk about I'm sorry to interrupt, but later on, can you talk about your upcoming debate with King Crocodile?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, go on. Answer that, Justin. I will tap in when I can.
Can I just interject real quick that I actually challenged King Crocoduck to a debate several months back, and he said no, he was too busy. I mean, he cowardly ducked out. He was scared of me because I'm good at logic.
I think it's if you get the biggest Sargonite fan to delete their Twitter account, just by doing the research and being saved of the awful experience of debating them for 3 hours, I think it's a win.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
At the end of the day, now you have read Derrida, am I correct?
I've read Derrida. I've read a lot of Rousseau and
Rousseau.
Lyotard.
How much academic agent hate
Lyotard.
It will decay your mind from within.
Foucault. I've read some Foucault.
My God, he's going down the rabbit hole. The postmodernist, the radicalization pipeline.
See, and I'm not even radicalized. That's the bad part. I'm not even, after all of this, I'm not even radicalized. Because there's some things I like.
Hold on, Chelsea. I will be the judge of that. How many genders
are there? 1,006. I said it.
Radicalized.
I said
Radicalized.
that.
I'm calling it now. Radicalized. Alt left.
Alt left. Awesome.
That's something I didn't understand. Like our original debate was going to be on like transgender ideology, and he backed out of that, and then he backed out of several debates after that, and then.
Can I just sort of say in terms of like Conrad Golden, how did an account with 80 followers obtain so much clout?
He's the clout master. Conrad is the clout master.
He is. That's why I suspect it was actually Sargon's account.
And you say 80 followers, but that's just the brand new total. When I discovered Conrad, he had 20.
Yeah, he did.
And that's okay. The thing with Conrad is it's with most of us. I know it with me. A lot of my followers like saw one tweet I liked, and then hit follow, and then occasionally they'll see me, but most of them are like I'm one of 1,000 people they follow. With Conrad, every single person that hit follow loves him with every fiber of their being.
Yep.
He was the real big account, you see, because everybody counts. From Conrad's accounts. Ooh, yeah. Here's the deal. The deal. Conrad became famous as he became because he said the magical words. I can't find the screenshot. I want to stab myself, but I want to find the screenshot, the original golden screenshot where Conrad says something like, "How dare you speak like that about Sargon? Do you know he's an intellectual and a philosopher
and a scholar? He's a scholar."
He's a scholar.
Wait, he actually used the term scholar. God damn it.
Modern day scholar, didn't he, or something?
That's why I couldn't find the tweet in the search word. Oh, here's the good news, guys. Yesterday I got a few screenshots from from Conrad's account just to make sure, you know what I mean? I had a weird
All right,
feeling.
we had the legend. I'm sorry, I forgot their name. Noopy. We had the legend Noopy get these screenshots from our debate challenge, and then some absolutely wonderful person made an alt account, Conrad Yellow, which is Bronze Swords 1, where they actually got all of Conrad's original pinned tweet responses.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Justin, I feel like you might have just outed Conrad Yellow, honestly. Well, please delete the stream. You just doxed someone.
Conrad Yellow? Hold on, I'm looking up. I want to see this.
I'm following, brah. I'm following. As a philosopher.
Hey, isn't it just kind of weird that like the SJW guy is studying like something that's like a hard science, and the anti-SJW guy is studying like philosophy and history? It's like, oh, isn't that shit supposed to like be like, how do you say,
reversed? I don't know. I always thought it was. He's studying philosophy, and he's like the anti-SJW guy, and I'm studying biomechanics, and I'm the SJW guy, and I'm hardcore SJW. Like,
does everyone know as well that Conrad Golden was featured on Cultured Tweets, and that's why he got absolutely ass blasted on the ratio?
Yes.
Cultured tweet. Supposedly, Kaya said that I submitted Conrad to Culture Tweets, but I don't think I did. I think they got the wrong guy.
Innocent, I say, innocent.
Yeah. Hey, can I interrupt to bring your attention to a tweet that just crossed my timeline?
Do it.
This is from my good friend Anime Teresa, aka Core for Moms, aka Fooly Cooley, who I.
Oh my god.
Yep.
No.
You know, everyone knows.
Bringing her up. No.
Yeah. Go on.
Well, I just want to just to clarify with this person, they told me to commit suicide the other day. That's the kind of caliber of person we're dealing with.
He did say that. He did say that. It was
shit.
It was an ugly episode. It was over the line. But I just got to call your attention to this tweet that he just sent. I hate seeing like fucking Gamergate and Sarkeesian discourse on my TL. I think that's a subtweet of me. I think that might be my fault. But anyways, because the shit is at least 3 years out of date. Agreed. But then here's the meat of it. The whole thing was entirely a cultural project to get people to accept a Hillary Clinton presidency. And it completely fell flat in his face. The Gamergate was a cultural project to get people to accept a Hillary Clinton presidency.
What?
That's what that is word for word my reply to that tweet.
Wait.
Haha, WUT question mark is my reply to that tweet.
That's worse than the Debattle dance thing. Like, how do you think these things? Like, how do you create these things? Like,
that's what I'm trying to ask this person. Like I keep asking, like, what do you mean? And he comes back at me with like, well, it's obvious. I mean, it's obvious. Like, what are you even confused about? He's acting like there's nothing. Like they just said some totally mundane thing that doesn't require any follow up whatsoever.
all right, so this guy probably has aphasia because like everything makes sense in their head, but just like it comes out and it's like the most gibberish thing.
If you can get them to come on stream and debate us.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can DM them actually.
Oh
yeah. I'll send a DM.
Treat yourself better. Get you some good debate partners. Don't
Wait,
one
second. I'm gonna invite Fully onto the stream, but let's all be This is like a mutual of mine. Let's all be respectful. Chud Logic, I'm talking to you. Let's. I know that they were aggressive towards you as well. I know. I fully acknowledge that. But let's just treat. They're a guest and they're coming into the Lion's Den. So let's be. If they come on, let's be respectful, please.
Okay. Yeah. I've got it loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
I will.
Sure, that feels like a real attack at the British there.
Attack the British.
Oh yeah. Fully is British too. Fully is British.
What I really want to do is get someone to debate all the things I did all this research on.
Okay.
I'm gonna send the link too, so they can come on Discord.
Go ahead and let him come on.
All right, cool.
Anyway, will that take long? I could ask you what I asked Dankula in the meantime, and you could give me your answers.
I have no idea how long it's going to take because it's entirely in their
so
court.
I posed him a hypothetical based limited by some conditions. Okay, so the conditions are this. Sorry. The government, for logistical and other reasons, will always enforce the lowest common denominator. Meaning, if you can ride a bike very well, a motorbike very well, and don't cause accidents, the government doesn't really care. They care if there are people who will cause accidents far more frequently than you and far more perilously. And they will design the legal outline according to them, not to you, because you are not the problematic frontier of the problem, okay? Others are.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So this is part of the conditions. It's not my argument yet, but one of the conditions is that governments act as social lowest common denominator enforcers in some aspects. And usually with the things they ban, that applies too. Like the example I gave is initially people were experimenting with drugs, but mostly the people that knew how to do it without getting in too much trouble, and then naive teenagers started hitting it, and you had a war on drugs and stuff like that. So from that condition, we then realize that, okay, you can protest the government, you can petition that government, but we know from financial inequality and other issues with the government that it doesn't always work. Protesting doesn't always work. So what's the other plan? If you don't want governments to apply this lowest common denominator so hard and so low that you can't actually, even enjoy life, maybe. Well, wouldn't it be sensible to elevate the quality of the people? Then that lowest common denominator that the government has to cater to slowly rises, but steadily rises and expands the freedom below it. Does that make any sense?
No, it does. So basically educate people to become better than what they are, to rise the level below the current lowest common denominator. Is that right?
Yeah. And I wouldn't just use educate, because it can be achieved with more things than the classical sense of education, but generally motivate the social mechanisms in a way to get that result.
So it's kind of like allowing, so in America, you're allowed to drive from like 15 and you're only allowed to drink from 21. So therefore the drink driving ratio is much lower than over in the UK. You start drinking at like 12, but you're probably not allowed to drink until you're 18. But you're allowed to drive from 16. So you get a bit cloudy with it all. So there's a lot more drink driving, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the way I would describe it is, if people drive like mad and do all sorts of crazy stuff, maybe the highway will be filled with traffic cameras and low speed limits like 70, 60, whatever. But if people drive carefully and they avoid accidents, to the best of their ability, and they don't drive drunk, then probably you won't have many, traffic cameras or very limiting speed limits. Okay, and that can apply to any sort of policy or law. It's the noisy classroom example, where the teacher interrupts the noisy student and tells them, "Can you imagine how the class would be if anyone acted like you? Maybe now it doesn't seem much that you just whisper in the background, but if everyone was whispering, it wouldn't work anymore." So based on that principle, governments try to get things to work for the most people. Okay, if you raise the quality of the people, then the leeway of freedom is, at least in theory, bigger. So then I posited this hypothetical. If a society where majority, like super majority, sane lefties that are not very accusatory or sensitive or whatever is the stereotype these days, but that, reasonable people trying to tend to the social problems the best way they can while trying to be responsible themselves. Okay, let's say that's 90% of society somehow in a hypothetical. Would the radicalization pipelines have any effect? Would people making bad jokes be a problem that needs regulation? My argument is that it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if an N-word slipped here and there. It wouldn't matter if there were cookie jokes out there. Because
a cookie joke, you mean like Nick Fuentes?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Because people wouldn't be baited, because they would have the quality and the analytical skills to understand, you want to pee, poo in my thinker? No, thanks, bye. But
a cookie joke is a metaphor for Holocaust denial.
For sure.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
just in case anyone didn't know, I'm filling it in with info. I'm dropping info on you.
But one thing I think I've noticed about these sort of Nazi comics is that they become more abstract as each version goes on. So it gets to the point,
yeah.
You can't really tell that it's a Holocaust joke unless you've seen the previous comic and the previous comic to that. So in some ways, it's quite clever in that respect. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Bailey and I got in a flame war with Cassandra Fairbanks because she retweeted a Stone Toss comic that was, to me, very clearly, loud and clear, an anti-miscegenation comic by a Holocaust denier. And Cassandra Fairbanks, according to her, had no idea. I don't know how much I believe that, honestly. Cassandra Fairbanks, come on the live stream.
I don't know who that is, but like some people, like they're just not aware of it. They're either really blind, metaphorically speaking, or they're just really dumb. Can't possibly see, like, they only see like the surface level of it, and they purposely don't want to like think more about it because that's just JW, that's deconstructionism.
Cassandra Fairbanks has covered Tommy Robinson's country. She's pretty deep in all of that kind of. There's no way she doesn't know about it.
I find it pretty unlikely.
Okay, then she's just dishonest then.
Yeah, there's tons of pictures of her with Tara McCarthy and with Laura Southern. I don't really buy it for a second.
All right,
to be honest.
then she knows
totally
what's going on.
And
She's purposely
I'm a
being-
pretty girl. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I just retweeted a meme, and it's like, yeah, I don't really buy that, to be honest.
Yeah, she's purposely being dishonest.
She tweeted the Tommy Robinson trial, and it was fucking vile. So
What did she say about the Tommy Robinson trial?
She live like Cassandra Fairbanks live tweeted the whole thing. Like her and Ezra Levant were in the courtroom, like calling out the judge for like stopping Tommy Robinson's solicitor from barrister from saying certain things. It was just the whole thing. Like Ezra Levant almost got arrested for not even jury tampering, just trying to fucking tamper the entire trial because he was just that biased with his reporting, live tweeting. We don't have the same kind of. We've got completely different contempt laws over here, so you just can't do that shit. And he was treating it like it was an American or a Canadian courtroom, and it was just, it was awful. They're probably still all up on his Twitter account, but I'm banned, so I can't go look.
Who has you banned? Oh, Tommy Robinson?
No, I got. Well, Tommy Robinson's banned. He got banned a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, I forgot.
But I got blocked by Ezra Levant for something innocuous, like I don't even know what I said to him. Probably.
Yeah. I do have an update on Fooly Cooley. He said that it's 3 a.m. where he is, and he cannot go on the live stream right now, which is understandable.
Shucks. Yeah.
Wait, it's 3 a.m. where I am. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think.
It's
I didn't
5.
argue. I did not.
5 a.m. over here. I beat you all.
Okay, are you up late or up early? One species.
I am up delayed because Dankula delayed my blood circulation on my brain.
You have like no sense of like circadian rhythm.
Actually, so there actually might be a chance of debate later, but Christy Abbey, you have been very, very, very patient. If you want to join Voice right now, I would actually love to talk about our original topic, which was Derrida.
Who is this?
Christy Abbey, a really cool person who interviewed me a week or so back, and they're really cool. So if they want to come on and talk about Derrida, that's awesome.
Christy Abbey.
Put guest links in as well. I don't know what that means.
Hey, did anyone? Oh, are they on?
No, not yet.
Okay. Did anyone happen to see that Count Dankula BBC documentary?
No, what do you mean guest
I didn't
links?
even know about that.
I think they're talking about like the people who are featured here and like what are their YouTube channels or Twitter accounts or whatever.
Yeah.
Who did that?
No, that's what Christy
was asking for. Was links to who's in the chat.
I'm so sorry, but guess I have no idea what I'm doing. I did know that Christy Abbey is in the Discord now.
Okay.
And she's really cool, and she interviewed me a while back.
Cool.
But while we wait for her, I don't know.
Maybe I could finish that thought experiment I had with Dankula if you want.
Yes, do that.
So the question to you guys here, who are leftists, is this: if I can simplify the whole thought experiment into one, into one small package, if nasty, hateful, conspiratorial, libelous speech, the really dangerous kind, had no effect on people's lives, health, or no immediate effect on people, would you mind just the words or that content existing if there were no terrorist attacks, no mass shooters?
What you're positing is a world without consequences, and in such a world, morality is unnecessary. So we don't have to worry about laws. We don't have to worry about anything.
No, here's the thing, though. My argument is that I have consumed thousands of hours of conspiratorial and hateful propaganda to analyze it, fill in my curiosity, and maybe debunk it if I can get the hang of it. Just like I consumed all that and it didn't affect my perception for the world. I posit that if you raise the bar of human equality enough, that's what happens with everyone, no matter if they are, kind of conservative or kind of liberal or kind of lefty. If their quality and their morality is in the right place, there's nothing you can expose them simply in the means of words and stimuli, that would radicalize them. That's my theory. Now, that's different from saying that country has been bombing my village for 20 years and now I want retaliation. We're not talking about that, okay? We're talking like similar circumstances like the white nationalists. They get into spicy memes, then they get into toxic jokes, then they get into toxic rhetoric, then they are identified with a toxic version of the world where everything is some evil conspiracy against them and it's some elite responsible, which drives them nuts. And what I'm saying is that the speech that is being either deplatformed or highly questionable at the moment is speech that has effect that trickle down into violence. If there was no trickle down into any violence, that could be directly related to this, personally, I don't think I would have much problems. Like, for example, if Holocaust denial was as quaint as the denial of nuclear weapons, by the way, for those who don't know, there are people who deny that nuclear fission is possible, and they have a whole mini cult of conspiracy theory where they deny that Nagasaki happened.
I've seen that. I'm trying to remember who made. Owen Benjamin is into that.
Okay, good.
All right. So your point is, if let's say Holocaust denialism was like the same thing as flat Earth theory, where it just has no effect on society, you wouldn't have an issue with it.
Yeah, look, I would consider it wrong. I would consider it toxic, but I wouldn't spend resources to fight it because it doesn't produce human victims.
Yeah.
I don't know. This reminds me of the Big Joel example of the movie Lubin Schlubin.
Someone's getting a call.
Who is this? My bad. That's me. But no, it reminds me of the Lubin Schlubin example where there's a movie that's panders incredibly hard to Nazis and shit like that. But for some reason, it doesn't make anyone else, newly Nazis and no violent attacks come after it. Can we still go around and condemn this and commit time to calling it out? And I would say, yeah, because it's still bad on its own right.
It's actually an interesting philosophical question that relates back to postmodernism. Is something bad because it's objectively bad?
I mean, in my opinion, what we're positing here is a world without consequences, and in such a world, my morality isn't for this situation.
Let me look. The worst thing I would ever want to do is argue in an example of a world that has no consequences. That's pointless. What I'm arguing is that given relatively normal circumstances of life, I mean, not war, not civil war, not famine, normality. Given normality and not a merely academic an academically good level of the populace. I don't care strictly for academics. I'm talking about, Justin, for example, our host here. Okay, he's a nice person. He can think right, and he has been exposed to several negative stimuli in life, but he wasn't radicalized by them necessarily. They didn't influence him. And what I'm saying is that if 90% of people could score as well as him only in this side of life, right? They could be clumsy, they could they could be very slow taking a shower. I don't care about the other aspects of their life. But if they could be good just in this aspect, that getting exposed to bullshit doesn't necessarily affect them, then it's not that I'm describing an example of no consequences world. It's that I'm describing an example of a world where stupid basic bullshit cannot hypnotize people.
Yeah. So you're describing one of the conditions of this thought experiment is that action X will have very low impact. So since that's one of the conditions, why would I about it?
Sorry, why would you?
Yeah, if one of the conditions of this thought experiment is that action X is going to have very little consequences, then I'm not going to worry about action. But I mean, by the parameters of the thought experiment, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, because it's meaningless in consequences. You mean? Yeah. But also somebody might come from the other side and say, "I will talk back to that issue, or I will fight that issue." Even if there are no victims yet, because you never know. And to that, the next answer is yes, but you would do it proportionately to the current danger. You wouldn't go all mad like the DHS has gone with the white nationalists. You know what I mean?
All right. When you say the DHS, did you mean the Department of Homeland Security?
Yes.
And what have they done with white nationalism? I actually didn't hear about this.
Within the past 2 months or a bit more, I don't know. I can't remember exactly. They established white nationalism as a domestic terrorism threat.
Oh, okay. All right.
What everybody was screaming at that time to get Antifa described as, the white nationalists got it. I guess having 300 times the victims kind of like does it.
So can I see
have
if
they not seen Andy Knows videos?
You got to see Andy Knows videos. So can I ask, see if I understand your question? So in this hypothetical, like let's say there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that this hypothetical message could radicalize someone into violence. Am I on track so far?
Yeah, it's not. I don't know if I would provide the statistical correlation there. It's just that, anyway, go on with your thought, and I'll interrupt you if I disagree or something.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say that this message has a 1 in 1,000 chance of radicalize someone into violence, and let's say 200 people hear it. Is it a big deal? Because it's 1 in 1,000.
Yeah, theoretically, maybe nobody's being radicalized in that batch.
Yeah. So let's say 1 in 500. So let's say 1 in 800. So let's say 1,000 people hear it. Is there one person? It's a 1 in 1,000 chance. Maybe, we don't know. What if it's 5,000? What if it's 10,000?
I think that specifies it quantitatively in a way that's not intuitive. The way I like to think about it is when we have post after the fact data, when 2014 and 2015 and 2016 has gone by, we have data for those years, and the data shows clearly that there's a rise in white nationalism. Okay. And if you can find cultural factors for that growth, those factors must be calculated in and opposed on their own merits. So what I'm saying is, nobody can be certain what will happen if you sow one thing to one room of people. But if a society has steadily very low percentages of occurrences of extremism, anyhow, with very few resources from the authorities spent on that matter, without a police state, and the natural occurrence of random radicalized people is like really rare. Like it barely ever happens, every now and then, so much so that people don't care about it. The statistics are just laughable. I argue that in such a society, there's no reason to necessarily spend too many resources trying to combat or limit the negative speech. You can dedicate some, but not as if it's urgent, just to have a debunk out there in case somebody fools themselves or something. But what we have now is this growth of white nationalism, which was combined with optics. And what the left has been doing is accurately observing the activity and describing it even before the facts. For example, Philosophy Tube in 2017 had described a few stages that white nationalism would go through and the events that would happen, which had not happened yet. But then they happened. So what I'm saying is the left generally gets a good impression of how things will go. And then also you get the data that confirms that, this happened indeed. So the question is, if those results didn't happen, if the data came in and there was really no radicalism to speak of, would there be any reason to censor or deplatform anything at all?
Consequentialism versus objective morality.
Well, not even necessarily objective. Like whether you're a deontologist or a virtue ethicist is kind of what it comes down to. I mean, you're asking a bunch of people in here that are consequentialists. If consequences aren't there, is it bad? Which, I mean, if you follow the logic through that stuff, it's not.
Yeah, it's a tough question. Like, if saying this thing didn't radicalize anybody, and it's saying that no Jews died in the Holocaust, taking it to its most extreme example, if saying that had no effect, is it okay to say that? Yeah, I would actually probably say okay.
No, I wouldn't say it is okay to say that. I just say I would never react to it like when I react now that we have synagogues and mosques getting shot. I would be socially indifferent to it, and probably the legal system should be different to it too. If it had literally,
I mean, first of all, personally, I already believe that the legal system should stay out of this. I don't support laws against hate speech or Holocaust denial, personally.
But I think
with you on that.
It's one thing though to bear in mind is that in, say, for example, Germany, culturally it's very different. It's historically a very big sort of neo-Nazi movement, and attempts to curb that are linked to putting laws in place to stop Holocaust denial. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, generally.
From what little I know of that, I don't think those laws have been very successful. I don't think that that curbing
that's the logic behind
it and outlawing hate speech is actually an effective way of curbing that stuff. Just from what I've seen,
they have been really successful because they've limited the rise of the far right in Germany to about 4 or 5 years ago, and the rise of the far right in Germany has happened as a result of the global crisis. It hasn't happened in a vacuum. It's happened.
So when you say that they've curbed it over the last few years, like what does that mean?
They haven't curbed it over the last few years. They've curbed it over the last 70 years. They've curbed it
over the last 70 years.
45.
So in 45, the Nazis were in power.
No, in 45, the Nazis weren't. They were taken.
Sorry, you're right. They were overthrown in December 44. So over the last 70 years, there's been a decrease of Nazism.
There's been an absolute ban of Nazism in and any kind of that kind of rhetoric, and it's only been in the last 5, 6, 7 years that it's started to rise again. The AfD have only risen, in the last 4 years?
Now, I want to point out that over that time, the last 5, 6 years, we've seen an increase of this nationally, or sorry, globally. Like there's an increase of this in the U.S. as well.
No, exactly. That's exactly the point. So they have hidden, and they've hidden it all well. But what our media, what the global media is actually portraying of the rise of the AfD in Germany, is being overshadowed. Like it's overshadowing what is actually happening in Germany, where the Green Party have risen further than the AfD, but nobody's talking.
Okay,
about
so Green Party, is that like the Green Party we have in the U.S.?
I don't think they're the same. I think there's
But a progressive party.
Yeah, progressive left.
Like a social democratic party.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one?
No, that's the one. So they've risen more than the AfD, but everyone's covering
What's
AfD.
What's AfD?
That's the new neo-Nazi party in Germany.
Okay.
Something Deutschen.
Now, didn't Germany have an election in the like in 2017 where they gained seats?
Yeah, the AfD have gained seats, and that's all that anyone's spoken about. But actually,
okay, I see. I understand.
Increase of seats, the Greens increased more, but everyone was speaking about the AfD because everyone's more worried about the fact that neo-Nazis are rising again in Germany. We need a German in our group chat because they can probably speak to it more because, like,
right.
Well, isn't Kraut in here still?
Hey, Kraut would come
Kraut
back.
left. Kraut left.
Oh shit. I'll try and find. I've got a guy on Twitter, I think, who is a German. He'll probably know more about it.
Okay. Now, when I said that they haven't been successful, what I meant was, well, isn't there like a movement in Germany where so the swastika is outlawed, so they just made a new symbol and they put that on their jackets, and then like the law tried to catch up with them, but it was hard to prove in court.
I don't know about that, but I know that sort of the street neo-Nazi movement in Germany, had been kind of non-existent because of their harsh stance on, Holocaust denialism, amongst other things, like no swastikas, no Nazi imagery. It really sort of crushed.
And that correlated with what it was globally, right? Like globally, you don't walk around and see a lot of Nazi street gangs. That's not a typical thing.
Not
in America, really? I don't know about that.
Hold on. But that's the thing in Germany. Like when we were, when we in America, especially, were dealing with a whole lot of very vicious, virulent, racist ass gangs, even leading up all the way until like the 70s. Germany didn't see that in the same way because these gangs weren't able to recruit because they can't use that rhetoric because it's illegal. But in America, you can basically say whatever you want. Like, the N-words, they're doing this, they're doing that. You can, it's much easier to recruit and bring people into your camp when you can actually tell them what you believe and why they should believe it.
And also, just to highlight the difference, in America recently, there was a neo-Nazi sort of group, armed, okay, and because of their right to free speech and the right to bear arms, they received some sort of police protection from the counter-protest. That, to me, is absolute insanity. Do you see what I mean?
Where was that?
That boggles my mind. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. Let me see.
I remember it was down in Georgia, like I think it was last year. They all showed up like armed, and the police guarded them while they like held a rally and like burned a swastika or some shit. Not too far
burned a
outside of
swastika?
Atlanta. Not too far outside of Atlanta.
So I mean, if they were burning a swastika, I guess I'm confused about the.
I don't know why they set it on fire, man.
Maybe it's like the Klan thing. They're not burning the cross; they're lighting the cross, so it's bright and like calls attention to itself. Like when the Klan burns a cross, it's not an anti-Christian symbol; it's a pro-Christian symbol. It might have been like that.
All right, everyone. I'm sorry to interrupt this actually really interesting discussion, but Christy Abbey has entered the chat, and they know something about Derrida. Which, if you remember from like an hour ago, was what we were talking about. Christy, thank you so much for coming on. What do you want to talk about while you're here? You're on mute, by the way. So you have to unmute yourself. She'll figure it out.
Echo. Anyway.
It has been an amazing conversation.
I'm sorry,
one
Logic,
that I
I'll put
was,
it in
one that I
chat.
did not contribute to at all. So,
No, you did your
What were
thing.
you gonna ask?
I was going to say I've linked that story into Discord.
Into Discord? I actually
Yeah.
don't see it. Maybe I'm not in the right place.
You're probably in the wrong
Yeah.
place.
General Newsweek, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
You guys familiar with that story when it happened?
Hey, before I go, I just want to say that I'm the smartest one here, and I'm gonna become king of the skeptics one day.
you will.
True.
I agree with this.
Guy go.
I agree with you.
You're way smarter than me.
Oh no, this is a different one. This one was even after that actually. The Detroit Pride Parade. Neo-Nazis came with guns
Yeah.
and
This
did
is the
all
one I
sorts
was thinking of. But obviously, because of the sort of fervent dedication to free speech in the US, this is the kind of stuff that happens. And I don't necessarily think hate speech laws are a great thing, but it just highlights that this is the danger of the opposite of that, if you know what I mean.
Well, and these kind of things have been going on forever. And I think Detroit's got a pretty good history or outside of around that area, and Michigan's got a pretty good history of it, going back, last 30 years of neo-Nazi rallies with guns and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, all I can say is that the Nazis were taking advantage of laws and protections that exist anyways about concealed carry, which a lot of us have, me included, have some issues with. I'm not completely against concealed carry, but I certainly have a problem with showing up to a supposedly peaceful protest armed to the teeth. But I mean, I do in fact believe in the rights of extremist groups to organize and whatnot.
We could really do
okay.
Bailey would be really useful here, I think, in terms of what Australia did in banning firearms and the effect that had on the mass shootings.
We will get Bailey in here.
Okay.
But we have
Christy can talk, yeah.
Yes, Christy. Thank you so
I can
much for
talk.
coming in.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm a hardware guy. I'm not a software guy, but I suppose that's a personal problem. Girl, I should say. I misgendered my. God damn it,
Christy. No, you're doing okay.
So, hey, what's up, Christy? Nice to talk to you.
So you know a little bit about Derrida.
I know a little bit about Derrida, but can I make one slight comment on the idea of hate speech?
Please, please do.
Being a trans woman, the protections of anti-hate speech are one of the things I kind of have to depend on for my day-to-day world. So it's not an abstract to me a lot.
Yeah, it's a fair point, for sure. when you're like a cis white person, it's easy to go, "Oh, hate speech, load of bullshit," But when it affects you, yeah, I totally get your point. Fair point there.
Yeah.
The one he's saying I know a lot about Derrida. What I know a fair amount about is postmodernism. I've read Derrida, but I get him mixed up with a lot of other postmodernist philosophers often. So if I screw up,
I was going to ask you,
too.
How terrible did I do in my explanation of postmodernism and Derrida? How terrible did I do?
Not bad at all. I think one of the things that's important to know is that postmodernism arose a bit, as far as I can glean, or maybe this is just in my head, out of Wittgenstein's idea of language games, and the idea that no one can have a perfect language is what I gleaned out of grammatology. The problem, and I think this may be Rorty, so if again, I'm mixing up philosophers.
No, like, okay, I know Derrida, I know Rorty. Just shoot it at us. No one else is gonna know either, because Derrida is goddamn impenetrable. So tell us your opinions on postmodernism in general.
You are not using the right lube. That's the problem. The trick is always going to be that understanding in the same way another has a perfect understanding. If the best example I saw came from Ian Dashkin, where if you describe a tree to someone else, you can get it close, but their picture of a tree is never the same. Your entire ideas are going to be rerouted through the effects of language, and truth has to become relative between everybody that is involved, because no one is going to quite understand it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's you got it pretty much on the button. I'm just, the quick short version. I've had an hour and some to think about.
It's almost as if Peterson hates postmodernism for no good reason, because in his model of truth, humans cannot be the absolute understanders of truth. They cannot understand truth absolutely. He describes it as true enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. One of the biggest problems with Peterson and the idea of postmodernism is that Peterson wants absolutes, and in order to grasp onto absolutes, and now I'm not getting this from Derrida, I'm getting this from my reading of Peterson. In order to grasp absolutes, he has to go outside of himself to a supernatural being. But even that, every idea of God is filtered through another person. Now, this is something that Wittgenstein himself said, so that this isn't really postmodern, it's pre-postmodern. Wittgenstein even said that everybody has the idea of God that fits themselves. Not an exact quote, but
yeah.
I just boiled down 150 pages into one.
No, you did, and you did really well. Like, that absolutely makes sense.
So
yeah, but I'm still very perplexed, because all the popular attackers of postmodernism I have heard basically focus on things that not only are strawman, I think, but are also, they attack things that are partly their positions too. But here's, I won't stay long, so I won't delay you much. I'll just say this and wrap up and go in a bit, because it's really late here. But about the Peterson thing, what you said about the absolutes is right. But here's the thing. He was fighting with Sam Harris for the meaning of truth, and Sam Harris has a more absolute view of truth. So the absolute, the necessity for absolute input in Sam Harris's system is given by the supposed objective truth. While I find that naive, at least is more consistent than Peterson, who I think is more correct to say that humans cannot have an objective experience of reality, each one of them. But on the other hand, while he believes that, he attacks postmodernism so much, which is not necessarily a contradictory dogma. But as you said, he inserts God in the picture to become the input of absolute values. And he puts the onus on humans to be jiggly and flexible enough to play it out with metaphoric truth.
We must be jiggly.
Well, yeah, and the one, I mean, I have, again, I'll pull the trans woman card. I've got a lot of problems with Peterson that are not God related.
I'll be back in 30 seconds.
We'll keep it warm.
I'll keep it hot.
There's some memes in the chat right now, guys.
Yeah, I'm seeing them here. I'm not. I actually agree that Derrida is quite impenetrable, and a lot of what he says is just trying to put into words what everybody kind of knows already. That the old adage, how can I know the color blue is the same as for you? Now, I took neuropsychology, so I would have absolute answers to this. And since taking hormones, I found out the color blue is much different for me now. So I always thought it had to be the same. You never know.
Yep. You never know. Especially people that have taken mushrooms really have different opinions on blue.
Yeah, there is that. Well, the question, I mean, all of the questions, being anti-postmodern is like being anti-enlightenment, and you have to figure out where in the Enlightenment they actually fall, because postmodernism isn't one thing. And if it was one thing, then it wouldn't be frickin' postmodern, would it?
Yeah. No, I think it's a great field that may have different offerings here and there, but I find this pop vilification of postmodernism as the supposed, bane of our times, as if, I don't know, the wage freeze that has been going on since 1974, as if that is the wage growth freeze, basically, as if that's like secondary, and no, postmodernist is the real problem. Are you kidding?
Something that genuinely confused me is I would think that the skeptics, TM, would love postmodernism because it like deconstructs everything. Like everything that we think is right, no, let's question it. Let's like question this big meta narrative. Let's like deconstruct the dualist view.
Yeah, let's deconstruct feminism or Marxism.
Yeah.
Like, Marxism, by the way, is a modernist school of thought.
Yeah, it's a meta narrative, right? Marxism is a meta narrative of the working class versus the owners of the means of distribution, right?
Yeah, so you can't have postmodern Marxism because Marxism is by necessity a modernist thing.
Yeah,
it's a bit reductionist. I mean, Marx is, but
what they want to say is, because I don't have good knowledge of history and lived experience from another century, I think everyone was fine in humanity. Everything was fine in humanity until the lefties showed up. That's the classical liberal mindset.
Fair.
Like, everything was fine until the left attacked.
The left attacked.
One of the strange things is we think of Alan Greenspan as the architect of trickle-down economics, and him coming out of the Ayn Rand objectivist school. I don't even want to get into Ayn Rand. She's shit, and everybody should read her because she's shit and
I actually
has
have read
affected
a lot
our
of
country.
There's very few. I'm not very well read, but I have read a lot of Ayn Rand.
Oh, well, I apologize at the same time, and good on you.
Christy, I actually wanted to ask you, in my description of Derrida's concept of différance, was I in any way close?
Slight refresher on what you said, because the whole conversation went somewhere else right after.
Oh yeah, it was really long ago. So my concept, in my explanation of difference, Derrida says that language is basically we can find meaning in language in two ways that are condensed into the single concept of difference. That a word is defined. We give meaning to a word based on its differentiation from other words, and also that word's meaning is deferred based on the words that come after it.
Yes, and that's I hate to keep bringing up Wittgenstein because there's so much of Derrida that is directly a direct line from it, as much as he's trying to break with the past. But that was very much of that school of thought. The language construction, it necessarily has to be a product of what is around it. Like if I were to say jiggle-figgle, and I used it in the term of Sargon as a great big jiggle-figgle, everybody would kind of know what I meant.
I know what you mean.
So, and should be milkshaked. And milkshaked in this case would be a particular action that would not necessarily follow from what you would think of as a milkshake.
That's an interesting discussion of language right there.
I was wondering though, could we say that postmodernism is partially corroborated by the fact that the human brain is so big compared to proportionally to other animals? And I'm saying that because really you can navigate the landscape, feed yourself, protect yourself, and make primitive groups with the brain of wolves and cats already. You don't need a much more complex brain to survive and navigate the earthly landscape. But as soon as chimps started, or our common ancestor with chimps started becoming more invested in the social aspects rather than the strictly physical aspects, I think, although that gave them great advantage, it brought forth the biggest problem of dialogue, basically, which is disagreement. There's always disagreement. And the disagreement can be in the terms, in the point, in the expression, in the length of the expression. So then our brain started swelling because although we had that selection pressure for cooperative behavior, we didn't have like the perfect way to negotiate things, and our brain kept growing on that. So what I'm saying is that that truth partially corroborates postmodernism in the sense that if it wasn't so complicated to get accurate transference of meaning from one person to another when their context and life is different, then, perhaps our brain wouldn't even be as big as it is if it wasn't so difficult to communicate accurately.
I couldn't answer that from Derrida necessarily, or postmodernism in general. I mean, it's been a psychological fight a bit. We do know from neuropsychology, and this is, I mean, again, it's funny that I'm a lefty who studied hard science, but
yep, same.
The is in the disagreement is in your other mammals. You have your dolphins and such. They have a complex language, and whether they agree or not this ball is mine, that ball is not yours, that ball is not real. We aren't able to tell just what parts of the brain light up. The domestic animals have loyalty, as they seem to see it, is a function of agreement or disagreement, not necessarily in group. Well, when you're talking about the evolutionary psychology, which is a fraught field at the best, your domestic pets are going to have an idea of agreement or disagreement, because the loyalty and the protection of tribe is a function of disagreement or agreement. So I don't entirely know whether it can be said that the big brain we have, or the smooth brain that Sargon has, is I'm gonna just slap on Sargon here and there, is a function of evolution of that sort. I happen to think it has to do with self-domestication, how we became in our own tribes, and then it was more functional for the people who were able to grow things and stuff, did better at reproducing, and how we organized and such. So it's one of those rough questions to answer, and so I figured I'd just fuck around for a few minutes and try and pretend I knew what I was talking about.
You did really well. That's exactly what I did. I pretended to know what I was talking about when I was discussing Derrida and postmodernism. You did way better than I did. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, here's the thing. I thought about that because, we have developed our technologies so much. So many aspects of human culture have, been developed further. But, pinning down meaning, pinning down definitions, and actually having clear, articulate, accurate discussions between people of different contexts is still one of the biggest unsolved challenges out there. And still our mind is getting, supplanted and assisted by all the new goodies and toys we have to assist ourselves.
Yeah, just in this conversation, I have, not known 99% of what we were talking about. Because I'm very stupid. I want all of you to know that I'm very stupid.
You are not stupid.
I know a lot about 4 things.
Most of the concepts are much simpler than, Derrida is trying to dress it up in making one word in a sentence not actually follow from the other one.
Yeah, fuck Derrida. There's a reason Conrad made me read this book. It's because it's the most impenetrable bullshit book that you could think of in philosophy. So I fucking read it. I read all of it in 3 days.
10 out of 10. I wouldn't commit to a Conrad debate if he didn't appear on the voice chat for 5 minutes one random day before the stream. I wouldn't even prepare for it.
You know why, One Species? Because you're smarter than me.
That's what the argument you've been driving.
Yes. Everyone is smarter than me because everyone except me knew that Conrad wasn't going to show.
But Justin, you had an idea though, right?
I wanted to push that out of my mind because I wanted to believe.
Well, I understand why you did that because you had to prepare. You couldn't.
All right, Jangles. If it makes you feel better, I kind of knew he wasn't going to show up, but I wanted to be wrong.
Oh yeah, I wanted to believe. Definitely.
I absolutely wanted to believe. That's why I did 20 hours of research. I seriously took so many notes.
Look. First of all, I'm not smarter than you because I spent a similar amount of time on the stream with Dankula and on responding stupid Sargonite comments on my videos because I had an influx of Sargo babies. But so I'm not even. I wouldn't even be smarter than you, Justin. But to me. Justin, you're smarter than me, actually. Your failure with Conrad was your virtue. You were too virtuous back home.
All right, you guys say that you're a big brain or smart or whatever, but have you even read Locke? Like, come on.
Have you
read Locke? I have indeed read Locke, yes.
It's Loki.
Yeah, it's pronounced Loki. Come on, let's get it right, guys.
It's
Definitely
Loki.
read Loki.
Low-key lock moments.
Alice, I'm so sorry that you lined up your sleep schedule to be in line with this. And also, Bailey, I have no idea why this link is so shit. I'm so sorry.
Can I just tell a quick joke? That's something that's relevant to this, right? How can you tell if someone reads theory?
How?
Don't worry, they'll tell you.
Oh, by the way, I've never been formally trained to logic, nor have I kind of like even raised to the level of the amateur philosopher or something like that. I don't call myself anything. My process is pretty basic. I try to think about the ways I think and how others think. That's all I do. I try.
Hi, Vadim.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're very disappointed and brokenhearted.
Well, you know what? You guys are a bunch of assholes because I was typing in the comment section before this started that Conrad was at my house and he wanted to get on. He wanted to debate you. He said that you're all a bunch of cucks. He slipped on his skateboard earlier today and mistakenly deleted himself from Twitter. Okay, that's how that happened.
Delete.
It was a freak occurrence. He was delivering a pizza to my house. And I was like, I can't wait for this debate that's going on later. And he's like, oh, I'm going to be doing a Jack Derrida debate. And I was like, wait, are you Conrad? And I was like, yeah, I'm Vadim. And he was like, yeah, I can't believe you didn't have any soy on this pizza. And he came in and we got along just famously. He was kind of an asshole, but he was very knowledgeable of Jack Derrida. He could spell his first name correctly. And so he was just sitting around like, when am I going to get a shot to get on? And he had to go because, Domino's was calling him. We're like, where the fuck are you? You've got some pizzas to deliver. But the guy wanted to debate you. So
Justin, I can't believe you ran from Conrad like that. Oh my god.
Oh my god, I missed my chance. You know what? I was actually just really scared.
I am just in Legal's defense. I have to say that he was just doing cardio. He wasn't running away from Conrad. It was cardio.
So, Vadim, I do have one question for you, though. You didn't have the correct change for the pizza, I'm gathering, because I heard all sorts of strange music coming from your house, mostly bass, and then loud noises of things and slapping sounds, and it just was pretty strange.
We're having an EDM party and an orgy at the same time, which is why you heard the bass and the slapping noises.
But Dave, you can't have both of those at the same time. You know that.
Oh, they go together. It's like it's like ecstasy, you know. Like you want to listen to EDM and fuck things.
That's my afternoons most days.
Yeah, I did. That's why he had to stick around for so long. I had to pay him in nickels, and they were strewn about the house, and there's all these people fucking everywhere, and so it was hard. I had to pick up fucking couples and pick up the nickels, and but the pizza was great.
Oh wait! That means you know what Conrad's butt looks like, because he was like searching around for those nickels.
He was a little bashful. He only stripped down to his thong. That was about as far as he would go.
Okay,
and,
that's fair.
That's what I've done today. So
yeah,
I'm like that right now.
No one knows that I'm not wearing pants on the stream right now.
Booyah.
Oh wow, that stopped the conversation short. I'm sorry.
You know, I just add those delicate touches. You know what I mean?
We watched The Mandalorian together, and he was actually embarrassed to say that he agreed with Anita Sarkeesian. There wasn't a lot of female representation, and that made
not enough strong women on Mandalorian. Vadim, what's your Mandalorian view?
I was actually okay. So for real, I thought it was just fine. I was kind of pumped because a lot of people have said like, oh, finally we've gotten a Star Wars offering that's good. And and so they made it sound like it's like, whoa, so much better than any of the other movies that have come out within the past several years. And I'll admit that I probably am kind of unpopular in this opinion, but I think the worst of the Star Wars films that have come out recently, and I'm not counting the prequels, of course.
You're talking about the Disney Star Wars. You're talking Disney Star Wars.
Well, no, yeah. I'm talking about Mandalorian right now, but I'm talking about from everything that's come out from the Abrams. Yeah, I guess those are technical Disney Star Wars. Yeah. I guess they are. Yeah. I think the worst of them is still better than. I mean, I like the Mandalorian, but I think the worst of them is still better than the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian.
What's the worst of them? When you say the worst of them, what are you talking about?
I mean, I would probably say that you know what? Maybe it's better than Han Solo. I mean, maybe I'd say that, but or maybe they're kind of neck and neck. But I mean, partially. I mean, maybe this is to be expected because it's a cable / it's not a film venture. But it just I didn't like certain things like the music, and maybe that sounds like nitpicky, but I enjoyed it overall. I'm like, okay, cool. We got like a not bad, I just didn't want it to be bad when I first heard about it, and so it's definitely serviceable, but when it comes to the recent movies, to me, I actually think are genuinely cinematic. Sure, there's moments in some of them, like in the most recent Star Wars, not Han Solo, but the one before Rise of Skywalker, which is coming out. What the fuck was it?
Last Jedi.
Yeah. I actually thought that there were some really interesting cinematic moments.
I agree with that. I don't like the film overall, but I agree with that.
Yeah, and I did like the film overall, although there were some parts that were like I was like, like when they let the those like fucking kangaroo looking creatures loose and stuff. I was like, oh, that's a little schmaltzy. I think a lot of people don't remember is that like I lived during the time that Star Wars came out, and I was a kid, and I grew into like a teen and adult where like before nerd culture was really accepted, and there were so many fucking people who were like, oh, Star Wars is like really lame, like it's really like, like people looked at it like in a really highbrow way, and they basically said the equivalent of what a lot of people say about the Star Wars movies now, that they were, just cheesy. They found the Ewoks, especially in fucking Return of the Jedi cheesy. So there's kind of like this fondness that we look back at those movies that a lot of people didn't have. Of course, there were nerds like me that loved it, but there were a lot of people who just were not did not embrace it in the way that they did as time went on, and so anyhow, my point is this: that I think it's fine. I've only watched the first episode. Maybe it gets better, but overall, it feels like a TV venture. It does not have the like grandiose quality that any of the films have. And another I'm gonna stop talking about this because I feel like I'm like just monopolizing the mic, but the last thing I'll say is like a movie like which is the standalone that had
Rebel One?
Rogue One.
Awful film. Hate it.
No, I see. I like it quite a bit. Now it's very slow. It's possibly, you could say, the most un-Star Wars like Star Wars movie that's ever been made. I didn't find it boring. I found it very absorbing. But the thing is that if you are going in kind of desiring the typical Star Wars experience, I can totally see why you'd find it boring. And the movie has like almost like a David Lynch style quality, which is interesting because a lot of people don't realize that David Lynch was tapped to direct Return of the Jedi, and he directed Dune instead. But
he said that he had absolutely nothing to offer Star Wars, and he didn't want to do it.
And I'm glad he didn't. I think it would. I mean, it would have been an interesting thing that history created, but I think it was for the best. And I like Dune. I like the fact he did it for Dune. I like his Dune. I'm also very much in the minority on that. But
I liked the TV version, which puts me in total shit with everybody else.
I haven't seen it. All I know is that
I haven't seen the TV version either.
Yeah. So I have very unconventional. So right there, you can see maybe I have some unconventional views on Star Wars, and so maybe my take is shit, But are we still live? Because I see that
still live.
Okay. Just because I see that you changed the avatar, not the avatar, but the picture, which
you're not on screen anymore.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I'm going to take credit for it since I don't think it was announced, but I made that the image you see on
the thumbnail. Yes, I'm so sorry I didn't. I put it in the link to the video, but yes, Vadim made that thumbnail for me because he's super awesome.
Then Logic
Guy made another thumbnail for me because he's also awesome. Everybody,
it's pretty awesome. I'm gonna be, guys. I need to do something real quick in the kitchen. I'll be back in a sec. Okay.
All right.
Hey Bailey, what's up?
Bailey.
Bonjour, my colleagues, cooks, intellectual. How is everybody?
I am so disappointed.
Now we're talking about Star Wars. Bring back Derrida.
We were talking about Star Wars because we just couldn't comprehend the fact that Conrad is no longer with us.
So Bailey, I have to understand, you don't know Conrad?
Bailey knows Conrad, I'm sure.
But Bailey posted something that's like, oh, did Conrad show up?
Conrad did not show.
Bailey, I need you to ask us about Conrad. Bailey
can't hear us. Anyway, I think I'll wrap up and go because I'm exhausted. And it's very late here.
Yes, you are in Greece. Please go. Please go to sleep.
Oh, are you out, dude? Have a good night.
Yeah. Thanks, people. I'm just gonna go to bed because it's morning here now.
Great time to go to bed. Excellent.
That's fair.
It was great. It was great talking to you.
It was good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And we had that big brain Count Dankula discussion that really threw off my
I will talk to Count Dankula soon. And we will
what's going on with Count Dankula?
Oh, not much. We streamed a bit. It went well for a bit, but then it spiraled into nonsense.
No, I meant when Justin, when you said you're going to talk to Count Dankula.
I want to talk to Count Dankula again soon.
I do too, because I want to go on and discuss something. He was very adamant that I come on the podcast or his live stream, and I'm down to do that. Before you go, One Species, are you going to post your appearance on Dankula's live stream?
I know. I'll think about it because he has a few gamer words in there, but I'll definitely review a few bits where I think the argument.
Chop it up and turn it into fodder.
Turn it into?
Turn into fodder.
No, I'll try to do something that for the half of the duration of that conversation, at least, Dankula failed. I'll try to be honest about it.
Can I ask a quick question about Dankula?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I heard that he made some sort of like really long, like hour-long, way too long video on why he decided to leave UKIP.
No, it was half an hour.
It was half an hour. Okay,
yeah, we were talking about
that's already too long.
Still, that
is very long, and I think
ridiculously long.
I think I watched 10 minutes of it. Yeah.
And I was just wondering if that came into the conversation because it interests me because I think that he probably like realized somehow. I think the guy is like politically illiterate, but I think he just realized, oh, this is really lame. This really makes me look lame, and and he just wanted to like get out. And the fact that he made like I haven't seen it, but the fact that he made like a 30-minute like excuse video for why he was leaving, it's just the thought of it is very funny to me. Probably if I watched it, it wouldn't be as funny as I imagine it in my mind. But yeah.
Oh my God, the meme machine here is fired up.
So Logic Guy, did you watch it?
I have not seen Mandalorian, and no.
I was talking about. Well, I do want to hear what you think of Mandalorian.
Oh, you meant Dankula's video about leaving. Yeah, no, we talked about it. And I was the one who told you about it. I remember telling you about it. You're like, oh, how long is this? And I was like, oh, it's half an hour. I watched 10 minutes of it, and I feel like he completely explained his reasons in 10 minutes. I didn't feel any need to watch 20 more minutes of this godforsaken video. But yeah, he was just all over the place. It didn't really make sense. He said he completely supported the current leadership, but he needed to leave because people were complaining. It didn't make sense.
If the not to do self promotion here, but
no.
Self promote. Correct.
When Justin was on my channel, we had a bit about what went wrong with his quote unquote debate with Dankula, which I listened to the whole 4 hours just
I did too
for research. Well, yeah, you had to, but so if anybody wants to go over to my channel, Justin's thoughts are over there.
Please, if you can link your channel in the chat, that would be awesome.
I have the weirdest memory of that debate because I was tired as fuck. I think I'd done an all-nighter to finish a video, and so I crashed I crashed in like the first few minutes, and then finally I have this thing because I sleep very weirdly, and I have this thing usually where I fall asleep to some sort of audio, and sometimes the audio will influence my dreams. And I started having these nightmares where just like two guys were like, nah, 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 and like, and I like wake up and like you guys for like, it felt like what was at least 20, 30 solid minutes. It was mostly him just shouting his fucking ass off. And I've never heard a debate in my life that was that cacophonous.
We talked for about 3 hours, and I thought it was fairly cordial. And then after we were done, I had my friends on. I had Bailey, who is in the chat right now. I love you, Bailey. I'm sorry you've been silent.
Oh, hey, Bailey. Oh, my fucking Lord. Discord sucks.
So I had Bailey in the chat. I had Logic Guy. I had one species, I had Oreo, and they all came in the chat and started talking, and then apparently Dankula was listening as we were talking amongst friends, and he came back in, and all these people, all my friends, did a way better job of deconstructing his argument than I did.
Right.
Well, it's not that we did it.
My friends are better than me.
Now that I think about it, it wasn't primarily you who was shouting back at him. It was Logic Guy.
Yeah. It wasn't that we did a great job deconstructing him. It was that he came on and he immediately refuted his own premise. Because
exactly. That's what I wanted to say.
Comedy does not have any political meaning, and then he comes on to yell at me because I said his pug joke didn't have any political meaning, and he was like, no, it did actually. I was owning the Nazis. So he just immediately came on and just did a 180 right on the spot.
Dankula, you said it doesn't have messages on it. Why are you lying? Why the fuck you lying, boy?
The best part of it, I don't think I did particularly well in it because I think he was able to like kind of just like shout over me, and I forgot what I was going to say. He's one of those, like, you could tell he was kind of like he was a few bottles down. You know, he was like in that like
he was
like,
a few
boisterous,
not bottles, but
he was at his most boisterous, right? But my favorite part of it is when I said that I would admit I was wrong if his wife came on to say that she did it. That's absolutely like the top tier.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, I have to go again in a second back into the kitchen, and I'll be back. But I just wanted to say that, like, just in general, Dankula is one of the most evasive people I've ever seen in my fucking life when it comes to admitting that, like, doing anything can influence anything. I mean, jokes have no power to sway anyone in any way whatsoever. Going on Alex Jones is just fine. It's just talking with somebody. I mean, there's so many times where he is just, you know, just been like, oh no, it's just the thing, you know, and it doesn't do anything.
Here's the thing about that, because I watched his BBC documentary that they made about him. I thought it was going to be about the legal case. It was not. It had nothing to do with the legal case. It's a terrible documentary.
I had no idea that they made a doc. Hold on, can you actually get, because I really want to hear about this, but I literally have something that's going to burn if I don't get to it.
Hold the thought. I can replace the topic. Hold the thought. I can replace the topic.
All right, cool. Go for it.
I think I lost my train.
Oh no! Oh no!
No, my train of thought.
That is just a language game, after all.
It is.
Language games all the time.
Language games.
Derrida.
Oh yeah. I could, before I go, guys, I got my train of thought back. So before I go and I completely crash with exhaustion, I could speed train Justin on how to debate Dankula live on air right now within seconds and minutes.
Go for it. I debated him for 3 hours. Tell me how I could do better.
Yeah. Well, first of all, lighting up a cigarette, because it's a tough.
I'll join you. It's almost like we just had oral sex.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Very teethy, that kind. Jesus.
Things got spicy. So one of the tactics is he will make a plausible version of the argument. Then he will catch you in a yes, and then he will stick the fucking conversation on that yes. And if you understand that he's gonna catch you with a stupid yes and don't go for the moat and belly, then he will delay the discussion until he gets the dumb yes.
Okay, so let's act this out. Let's do it. Justin, you play Justin, and one species you play Dankula.
I don't know if I can play Justin.
Yeah, just be yourself, man. That's all we're asking.
Okay, what's up?
So who goes first? Okay, so yeah, go on.
So, all right, I think comedy can play a part in rhetoric.
Yeah, well, what you want is to get people banned because you're mean and you disagree with them.
It's not necessarily that I want them banned. It's just that I think that sometimes comedy can play a really realistic part in convincing people to think a different way.
You see that slippery slope? I'm afraid when people talk like that, it ends up with me in a jail. You know.
Okay, but there's a different slippery slope. If we allow people to talk about things they want to, everyone's gonna die. That's another slippery slope. Shouldn't we consider that?
No, because the alt-right are cuddly because they might have odious genocidal beliefs, which I disagree with. But when I go to talk to them, they're kind.
All right, no, you don't understand, Dankula. If we allow people to talk about things that I don't like, it is going to cause everyone who is not a straight white male to die. All right, that's a slippery slope argument that you have just described. So tell me why that isn't the realist. Tell me why that isn't the case.
No, it won't. No,
What do you
won't.
mean?
No, it won't.
What is Justin supposed to do to counter this?
Oh no, I know what to do to counter it. One species. Continue. What is Dankula going to say?
Well, I had gone for the denial, ask for evidence plus denial plus ask for evidence line, which is
you didn't bring up Antifa trying to attack you at all for a joke yet. That's the one thing that.
Yeah, I'm keeping that, as a sidewinder.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's the ace up your sleeve.
All right, go.
No, we are at the part where I will say, I don't believe you. Show me evidence. I don't believe it. It's not like that. People won't die.
Hold on. What's up? Hold on. Wait. What's up? We still recount the Dankula memes, or?
No, we're trying to play out a mock debate with SJW here before I go to bed.
Nice.
What's the last thing you said?
No, here's the thing. Here's the real tactic. The real tactic is basically the PragerU tactic, the Lolbertarian tactic. He has the same tactic, which is talk about life raft scenarios, abstract things like what's the letter of the law? If the law says it, we are good enough. And never go into the details of how things apply. If you go into the details of how things apply, it's not that I need to train you in any method to argue against that. It's that once you go too close to how actually principles apply in the real world, he will just become erratic in the conversation. He will just employ anything, red herring, strawman.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Because okay, so you're saying I did not I've never realized, but most of what you're saying, this makes sense. I don't remember times where I've heard him like kind of appeal to the law. But I would think, like, if he makes appeals like that, you could just say, like, well, hey, the laws in the UK were that if you make a video with a fucking Nazi pug, you're gonna get a fine for that. And so what is his rebuttal to why that is wrong?
He has this abstract idea of the world where you only do activism if the laws are removing your rights. If the laws on the face of them, as you read them, do not remove your rights, then what is there to complain? And so it's not that he goes for the laws everywhere, or the I don't care what happens to you, it's the law. He doesn't go for those angles, but he goes for the angle that you're not persecuted or marginalized or whatever. Let's put it as he phrased it. Your rights are not being infringed if the letter of the law says you should have your rights. So he pays zero attention to application, how things apply. And if you try to move the conversation to how things apply, then he will bust out and bring the red herrings, the ad homs, the interruption. Then after he interrupts you, he will tell you that you made a mistake and you don't accept it, but he only interrupted you, and that was a mistake. There was no mistake. And series like that. But the key is, as long as you're, classical liberal, you're talking about abstractions and values, principles, which is basically what the libertarians and PragerU do. They have these, sock puppets of capitalism and sock puppets of the market, and they say, you see, with the market and capitalism, everything is fair. But it doesn't apply in reality, right? Okay, so
visible hand of the market coming in to save the day.
Yeah, and even that guy didn't mean that. And even that guy didn't mean that. He meant something completely different, which they turned into more Koch rhetoric. So
I hate that guy.
It's not that it's. I'm not describing his arguing tactic because I don't know if he has an arguing tactic. I'm describing the mood of arguing. So, as long as you're in abstract principles and you kind of agree with him, it's all fine. It's all running smooth. But if you try to deduct from those abstract principles actual on-the-ground results for people that live in real-life situations, then he's gonna shoot any indecent method of debating that there is out there, any and all.
One tactic that I often see him do is like, if you bring up something like, hey, you were on Alex Jones, that's kind of a shitty thing to go onto the show of a guy who has done all these horrible things, Sandy Hook parents, blah 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 blah, and then he'll say like, Vadim, weren't you once on the stream of I wasn't, but let's just say like of America Johnson? Isn't he a communist? You're a communist. Like I mean, he gets you by these like loose associations, and then he builds up those associations, and like the associations themselves aren't nearly as bad as the associations that he's made, and I don't believe in guilty by association fallacy.
Yeah, honestly, you shouldn't be attacking him for guilt for who he associates with, anyways.
But the thing is like I don't think that him going on Alex Jones is a guilty by association fallacy, because it's guilty by implicit endorsement. I think by going on someone's show, there's a difference. Do you guys understand? Do you guys understand what I mean with that? Can I just say? Do you guys understand what I mean by that distinction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I haven't seen
Alex Jones isn't the worst
I haven't seen his
example.
appearance on Alex Jones, so
It's not the worst example. He was interviewed by Tommy Robinson. He was interviewed by Tommy Robinson. That is the far worst example, of
Could be said, but let me interrupt you before I go. I also have the bullet point breakdown. So once you approach discussing real world scenarios with Dank, Justin, the following transformations will follow. When you give examples to bring analogies into the discussion with the examples, he will discount them as irrelevant. Examples for Dankula are irrelevant. Analogy, once he gets upset, examples are irrelevant and red herrings, if he knew the term to use.
Lest I have Antifa involved.
When you throw him, listen, because this is very important. When you throw him back his logic that he just spouted, when you throw it back at him so that he sees how stupid it is, he says, you're stupid. You're wrong. You're stupid wrong. Shut the fuck no, you stupid wrong. And you're telling him I'm wrong because I dished your own philosophy to you, you fucking idiot, and you realize you're wrong. No, you see what happened is now that you're wrong, you're trying to deny it. You're trying to deny it, cowards. So remember, examples will become red herrings if you use analogies. Now it's red herring. And if you throw back his logic at him, he will call you stupid, not his logic that you throw back at him. The other transformation that happens is that when people agree with you, it's invalid. But when his chat agrees, it's valid. Also a transformation that happens. And the other transformation is he will flip the burden of evidence, but then pretend that he kept it. Meaning he will ask something. You will say something like, that's rather stupid. Do you have any evidence? And he will say like, okay, prove it's not like that. And if you do the mistake of thinking, okay, maybe I can give him an easy example so that he can understand and move on to the actual point instead of the procedure, then what he does is you give him an example and he treats it as flimsy evidence. And then he will stick there for an hour without moving. For example, he asked me, okay, what rights gay people don't have in the UK? And I told him, this is a man on the street question. This is stupid. If you're really interested in finding out, don't do the e-celeb thing and say, oh, they're not in danger anymore. Go to the gay activist organizations of UK online and download what they claim they're combating and see their data and see if
I
it's
don't even
real
have to
or
do
not.
that. My state doesn't have any protections for gay people.
Oh no, it's okay. I'm with you. But here's how that devolved, and by that I'm finishing my spiel. Here's how that devolved. He opened the PDF I sent him. He read the line, and he said, from my own knowledge, this is baseless because 21% hate incidents, but the term of the hate incidents is too loose. It's all false positives. And then it's a stupid conversation because we started from his vapid statement that gay rights activism doesn't have any reason to exist in the entirety of Europe. Then he passed me the burden of proof. I tried to be kind with an example to forward the situation. And then he was like, oh, so you have no evidence, see? So you're lying, see? And I wasn't
the lying thing. The lying thing.
The constant.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and look.
Hold on, wait.
I need to finish. I need to finish the...
Okay, I have something to say about the lying thing when you're finished.
I got something else.
Because I need to wrap up and go, guys. So then he starts you're lying thing. And I was not even giving him evidence. I was showing him the proper process to do this. If you think the claims of gay activists in England are frivolous, download their PDFs, read them, and decide if they're frivolous based on their evidence. Don't just read the line and think, oh, that doesn't, my opinion is different. And then he said, and I told him, to make that completely like normal people do it, you have to read the entire PDF and then decide. And I was giving him that, and he was like, I'm going to read this live. No. And so basically, don't give him the benefit of a doubt, not even one time. Don't ever allow him to shift the burden of proof for any of his lines. In fact, the best tactic would be to ask him to provide evidence for every fucking word he says. That's it. Go on, people. Tell me.
Okay. If I may, before Vidian, because it's related.
Go for it.
One of the to even bring it back around to the regular topic, the idea of joke telling itself is a postmodern endeavor. You are constantly deconstructing your setup by whatever punchline you wind up with. Otherwise, it's not humor. It's just this is what happened. So even to get to the other side is a deconstruction of the concepts of why did the chicken cross the road. The concepts being well, what the concepts of why did the chicken cross the road. That's a stupid way to begin a sentence.
You're okay.
But yeah, if he has trouble deconstructing his own humor, and to actually
put it in the terms of deconstruction is one of the ways to catch him out, especially the way he kept going, oh, it's just to shock people, it's just to make people laugh. And I don't let my voice get deep enough to do a really good one of him, but he was constantly just trying to make humor a not thing instead of a thing that can be understood as it is. That's pretty much all I had.
I think a lot of memes achieve that. Go on, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say that I learned that I'm pretty sure that he likes to find instances where he can call people liars, and then once he calls you a liar, you are a liar for life. Because there was this one conversation that I was having with him on Twitter where we were discussing the like embarrassing day for speech thing that he did. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was
Martin Zellner and shit.
But Martin Zellner, Sargon McCod was there. Lauren, Stephen Molyneux, and Lauren.
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It was
The
dumb
one
thing
with the fucking type over their mouth.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say in a second.
Jesus.
So like I basically like, you know, I was like, dude, you did this dumbass thing that with these people who do not give a shit about free speech, with all these like, you know, essentially like masked neo-Nazis, and he was like I totally, you know, because I had said that I had watched it and I had, but it had been like over a year since I had fucking watched it. And I'm sorry, I don't have a photographic memory. I don't remember every single thing that the guy said in his speech. And he was like, "You're lying right now because I said that, like, in the beginning, I told the Nazis they could fuck off." And, you know, and as if that like really makes it okay that he did this whole thing, you know, and ever since then, whenever I have engaged with him on Twitter, he calls me a liar because of that, and he brings it up, and I'm like, dude, I wasn't a liar. I'll admit, I went back, I looked at it. You're right, you said that. Like, hello, like, can you stop calling me a liar? And he never, just always calls me a liar about it.
Here's the thing: he's so Dunning-Kruger that first of all he will tell you that you're Dunning-Kruger while he's Dunning-Krugering, which is amazing. But the most beautiful part is where, at some point, because it's live, right? You might use a word next to the word you wanted to use, and you might rephrase your words. But you may do that and mean exactly what you've been meaning for 45 minutes now, right? But he will say, "Oh, rephrased right," as if it's echoes, as if the rephrased has echoes. No, you took it back because you know you were losing the argument. And he says that on a genuine just rephrasing of the same argument so that he gets it in his thick skull better. So basically his stupidity is an advantage, because as you try to formulate arguments that would go through his thick skull, he can say that you're moving the goalpost or changing your position because it failed, just because you're trying different approaches of the same thing that he might understand eventually. So his stupidity really works for him. But the beautiful part is where he calls a genuine rephrasing as, "Oh, right, you're changing the argument now." But when he actually changed the argument 15 seconds later, and I caught him, he's like, "Oh, that's just rephrasing." So he has this Dunning-Kruger factor where these people do think that words, they know what words mean and they use them. And they think words can go like any way, both ways, always, whatever I say. But it doesn't work like that. And when you call them out, they call you wrong and you Dunning-Kruger, which is unbelievable. Like I called him out, like I had merely changed from the phrase, the rights are being, you know, whatever, infringed, to what I was arguing for the whole hour, which was, although the rights are protected by law, their lived experience might be lacking of those protections. And his shift was from jumping from the whole of Europe not needing activists to jumping just to the UK. And him admitting that he said that because he didn't know about Europe. So he was already admitting that his initial statement that activists about gay rights are not necessary in Europe was false. But then when you tell him, oh, so you're lying. No, I was just rephrasing. He's trying to do, cargo culture versions of what you did to say that, it's fair game. It's really pathetic.
Yeah.
Speaking of, it's been almost 4 hours.
Okay.
I think I'm going to call it here.
Okay.
Yay.
Thank you all.
4 hours and he didn't even show up.
I know.
Amazing.
And Bailey, I'm so sorry I didn't get to you. I'm just very
That's all right.
tired.
We'll have a chat sometime in the future.
Thank you.
Chad,
we
you
will
were
have
all
so many
fantastic.
chats.
Can
Thank you
I
all
just,
so much for showing up. I appreciate you coming on, and I am very sad for Conrad not showing up. So I'm going to end it here, and if you have anything to say, leave it in the chat and/or comments, and I will end it later. So
yeah, I was just gonna say thanks for having me on, and it was a great time.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. You too, guys. Thanks for having us, Justin.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, cheers, Justin.
I really very much.
Same here.
Yes, I'm ending
I
it.
appreciate it, Justin.
Now.
I do.